Harley, where it's like dun dun.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy
Hi.
Chavez, coming in with Heather Truax, aka the VVT. And
Right.
you
Hi.
started that channel how long ago?
I would say about a little over a month ago. Yeah, because we have my husband Corey, for VV3, he has his.
Yeah.
Um, and it actually kind of started because so his content is mostly like product information and stuff. And I was like, well, you should do a video about this. You should do a video about this. You should do a video about this. And he's like, make your own videos. And I was like, maybe I will. And so came to life. And yes, I really like it because getting to talk about your own stuff is really nice,
Yeah,
and
it's a
like
lot of
for a
fun.
lot of stuff, we have very similar views on like what to invest in, how much to invest in, what kind of things we want to go for. But as far as the type of content we want to deliver, we are a little different in those regards. I like to do a little bit more discussion about what we might be seeing. So kind of like speculation, but speculation that's a little more grounded in like some tangible information, right? Like I don't want to just be like, oh, this might happen one day because this one random tweet. I'm more of a fan of like, I've got my chronicles that I started that I called the Con Chronicles, where I'm talking about like Alfred Kahn, has his hands in so many different licensings and brands. Therefore, we may see some of these things.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorite videos that I have is my like confirmed drops, confirmed licenses, where I talk about Vivi has announced all these licenses like Jurassic Park,
Can't wait.
and I know I'm like, surely it'll happen this summer with the new Jurassic World movie release, maybe. Um, but yeah, so brands that we know we've seen like The Labyrinth, I'm really looking forward to that one as well. So the brands that we know that have been announced that we're just waiting for. And then I've also recently started doing first appearance videos. I've been working on the comic first appearances right now because I think it's nice to have like a single space look of like here's all the first appearance characters, from season
Yeah.
1, from season 2, etc. And yeah, so basically if it doesn't exist and I'm looking for it, then I'm just making it. So that way it's available.
Okay, so when you do these videos, and it's known as like the VVT, like for me, and this is probably not healthy at all, every now and then I'll put in, if I were to have tea, if my girlfriend makes me tea or whatever, I put in some Jack Daniels in it, some honey Jack. Does that help your creative juices flow, or are you just naturally connecting dots and going like, well, if this happens, then this should happen?
Um, so I actually don't really drink, anything except for, coffee or tea. Like, water is just, kind of like a supplement to the rest, kind of thing as well. Um, but yeah, I'm a being being in the military, it's just kind of ingrained. You're just if you don't have your coffee, what are you even doing? And
Can't
so
hydrate.
stay hydrated and stay caffeinated, because sometimes you have, like
Yeah.
25, 30-hour days, going at it. And so now I think more of it's a comfort thing, like to get me into my I'm not missing somethsomething kind of
Yeah.
stage. Even Corey thinks it's silly because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm almost ready for bed. Let me get a cup of coffee, so I can enjoy some coffee. Because something about, at that time, I'm like, oh, something warm and tasty, to have before bed. And
Yeah,
for
of course.
Christmas, I just got a whole new coffee machine. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's the tits. It's just the best.
I love new toys, and you figure out. I think a girlfriend has a Keurig machine, and it's like, oh, put a little of this and a little of this, and she'll kind of
Yes.
mix and match
So that's the
everything.
thing. My mom got me an espresso machine. And so it's amazing. Like I've had Keurig, I've done hand drip. I'm a Starbucks girl, and the Nespresso is giving me my Starbucks drinks at home,
Mhm.
because like basically before I would still have like 5 or 6 cups of coffee a day, but then I'd be like, well, I still need Starbucks, because latte.
Yeah,
And yeah, so being able to like make espresso was a big difference for me. And yeah, I super super
we
like
get
it.
to see
They're
the
really
jolt.
great.
But
Yeah, yeah.
you had mentioned before being in the military. I wanted to ask you a bit about that. Did you come from a military family, or did
I did
you?
not.
Oh,
So like my grandfather served, but my immediate family, I was the first one of our group. It's actually the means of which I met my husband. Because as I was coming into the Navy, he had just gotten out. So we were both going to the same school and stuff. And it was really interesting because he had finally gotten to settle after his 8-year career. And I was like, okay, all right, come on, let's go do mine. And I've been in now for almost 8 years. But I'm on my way out. I've got just a couple months left,
yeah.
and then we're gonna be migrating back to the home state, which is Kentucky. We're currently out in California. Um, Definitely looking forward to getting back to Kentucky, though.
When you had joined, is did you just get like a high ASVAB score and they're like, oh, hey, you could be a nuclear electrician, or did you go to school for that?
Yeah.
Are you
So
did you enlist or are you officer?
I enlisted,
Okay.
I specifically selected the Navy because I wanted to be a CTI. I wanted to work with languages,
Same.
and I did all the prep work for that, but it is specifically why I selected the Navy branch. They offered it to me, however, in the time it took me to do the background check, that job was no longer available. Because for anyone who's not familiar, they only have a set number of those jobs at any given time, and you can only select from a job that is in that pool, and everyone in the country is seeing those at the same time, so the jobs were no longer available, and, I was really disappointed because 'cause we're like, "We need you to sign up for something," and, they offered me some of the more, conventional rates, like, originally they offered me aerographer's mate, so, like, an electrician or a quartermaster to do the flags on the ship, and I was like, "Those don't sound very fulfilling to me, it's not what I'm interested in."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, well, you scored so high on the ASVAB, like, you just auto qualified to be a nuke." And I was really offended. I was like, "I don't wanna work with bombs." And they were like, "Oh, no, 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 nuclear propulsion." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more," and they
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll tell you a little, and then if CTI becomes available, then you can just, take that later." And I was like, "Oh, okay, alright, we'll check that out." And then they had me. Nuke, and, yeah, it was pretty unexpected. The education side was really fulfilling in the Navy. I had almost 3 years of school with the Navy, and, then went out to the fleet. I served on the Abraham Lincoln, aircraft carrier, and, now I'm on my shore duty, on my way out. And, yeah, it was interesting, not my favorite thing, but it was an experience, to move me forward.
Yeah. Your tech school after basic training, how long did that take? Where did you go? Tell me about that.
So, there's 3 of them for nukes. You have
Oh
your
my
A school,
God.
yeah, you have your A school, your power school, and then we have what's called prototype. And I was in the school pipeline for 3 years. Thank you
Oh
so much, Jeff.
my God. That's so
Appreciate that.
long. And was there
Yeah.
any chance of being like, hey, you didn't pass this one, could you retake it? Or did they like, nah, too expensive, you can't do it, you're out?
So, the first 2 schools are commonly referred to as filters.
Okay.
And every couple weeks they have mass academic boards. And so, every single week we take exams, and then anyone who fails, after you get a certain amount of fails, you're just kicked out. And and then you just get re-rated at the Navy's leisure. So you
Yeah.
don't really get too much of a say, which is like super scary as well. Like, not only did you fail out of your nuke school, but you don't get to pick what do you get to become. They're just gonna
Yeah. That's
send you at the needs of the Navy. And, so it was super intimidating, because every couple weeks, like, a bunch of your friends were just gone. "Oh, that's my mom."
oh, hi
Kim is
mom.
my mom. And, yeah, so it was super intimidating, but yeah, the first school's kind of like some more basic information, like math courses and stuff like that. The second school was more in-depth math, more logarithmic things, more, theory, and then that third school, that prototype, is the application. But
Okay.
there's
Is
2
that where it
schools.
started getting fun? Because you got to apply.
Yes, because you're less in the books and more what so prototype is literally, where they have these World War II submarines that have been chopped up, and so they've got reactor compartments and stuff for us, and we go and we qualify on these ships. So they turn them on, and there's an engine room, and we get to practice getting it ready. And as an electrician, what I would do is I control where all the electricity goes on the ship from a specific room, next to the person who controls power for the reactor, and also I'm one of the people that does the steering. on the steering, as well as the propulsion speed. And then on the aircraft carriers, just the speed for one of the engines. Because the aircraft carriers have 4 shafts, and so you have 1 throttleman, 1 person controlling the shaft speed for each one.
And
And
you could
so
do all of those jobs. Like your job, let's say like for the day or for the week would be like, hey, this is what you're on, and you could do each of those if needed.
each shift, I would have a different one. I personally, so the reactor control is a different branch, but I would do the electrical control as well as the throttle control, and then just in general, like watch station stuff, like walk around and make sure, everything's on that's supposed to be on, everything's within a temperature that it's supposed to be in, and stuff like that.
So did you ever feel like you were in the video game Among Us? And it's like, okay, here's my task, and you have to do that.
Yeah, sometimes it was really hard because you would have some clear tasks, and then but a lot of times it felt like there wasn't quite as many tasks. It's very overwhelming too on the aircraft carrier because just the overall size of everything was so large. Um, there's just giant tanks everywhere. As far as tanks as in, water
Yeah.
holding, not not war tanks. And, there's just stuff everywhere, and nothing's forgiving. And I don't know about you, but my feet are really good at just finding corners and, like, sharp edges and stuff,
Oh,
and, like, there's all these valves and pipes everywhere, and I'm just constantly just whacking my shins and my knees on everything, and it's just it's
did,
rough. You're gonna
did
walk
they
away
give you steel
bruised.
toes?
You do wear steel toes, yeah, but,
Okay, we got those too.
it's still not gonna
So
be super comfy, at
yeah,
times.
no,
Yeah, a
we
lot.
did that too.
Yeah.
It was I remember one day where I had I had like this small injury on my knee, and I was like, okay, instead of being out on the flight line, I would just be on dispatch. So I wore boots that were not steel toe. I was like, oh, I'll be on dispatch. I was on there for like a week, and on like the 4th day, we we had like 3 C-17s on the ground, and we had like like these giant aircrafts with a bunch of passengers, a bunch of baggage to go out,
Yeah.
and we didn't have enough people to cover. So I had to like, okay, dispatch going mobile. I had to go mobile, and I had to
Oh,
like
no.
go on the flight line and try to help put on a bunch of these baggage pallets and stuff and cargo pallets. I was like, oh man, my if there's anything that's gonna happen, please don't let it be today, because I had no protection. But
Yes.
the
Yes.
yeah, were there ever any what type of dangers down there outside of the sharp corners or whatever? What was the bigger danger? Was it like electrocution? Was it some type of like leak that you
Yeah.
had to take care of?
So, as an electrician, you find what we call sharp things a lot, sometimes you're touching a pan and you're like, "Oh, alright, there's a mistake in there." And,
Okay,
and so that would happen occasionally, nothing too bad because there's a lot of controls and a lot of steps to prevent that kinda stuff, and you don't work on stuff typically that is energized, for safety measures. Um, so instead, we have all these, like, emergency measures and practice runs that we take care of, like, the highest risk, well, still low risk, the highest potential risk would be honestly a steam line rupture in our space because everything is steam oriented. And so we have a lot of drills involved if there was a steam if there was a steam line rupture, and occasionally there would be some, or, just fire in general.
yeah.
Fire is a big part for me as an electrician, because breakers, a lot of the breakers are like the size of, like, your nightstand, a single breaker.
Oh wow,
They're very, very large, and sometimes they're like, "Hey, what'd be cool? Let's catch fire." And, and they would just do that sometimes, and sometimes
jeez.
it's not immediately aware. In fact, I had a very large fire when I was on the ship. It's quite startling. I was operating a panel, and then it caught fire, and, like, that's not fun. But, we have a lot of training and preparation, to take care of that. But
So
fire's, like, super common.
okay, like, do you guys have an abnormal amount of fire extinguishers, or is there something else that you would have to
Yeah,
put
there's
on?
tons of them, and, like, depending on the type of fire, depends on what you're gonna, fight it with. Electrical, you don't use a fire extinguisher. You like a typical fire extinguisher, use, like, a CO2 extinguisher after securing the power if
Yeah,
the fire still remains. So it just depends on, like, what kind of a fire it is, what method you're gonna use. But yeah, there's a lot of different options, and we do extensive training on fires, because fire is a risk to the whole ship.
yeah.
Um, but Yeah, there was never any, like, ship-threatening fires or anything like that, but, just ones that are like, "Okay, well, it's gonna be a very long work day today,"
Yeah.
because we're gonna have to recover from this. But, yeah,
Oh,
because it always seems to happen at the end of your shift, right? You're about to be done, you're about to turn
like,
over to the next dude and go get in your rack,
yeah,
and then it's like, "Oh, catch fire," and now you can't turn over because it's your shift and your equipment caught fire,
yeah.
so you gotta take care of it.
In the 8 years that you had served, how many times had you gone offshore, and how many times? Like, how long did you have to stay out there for a time?
So when I first got to my ship, it was actually in the shipyard. And, almost no one on the ship had been out to sea yet, including myself, because that was my first time.
Yeah,
And so for almost the first half of my time with the ship, we were just on land. We were in the sea yard and, there was lots of maintenance and it was weird, because the ship wasn't existing how it's going to exist at sea. And then we
yeah.
had this transition of going to sea, which was really exciting because we got to do this thing called sea trials where they're like, how fast can this baby go? And they do like really sharp turns and stuff like that. And it's just like so cool, right? Like you're like standing on the walls for some stuff. And you're like, this is awesome. Everything's falling off the shelves,
Yeah.
and that's really fun. And it was interesting too because now you're like, "Do I get seasick? Okay, I don't. Oh, man, she does." You know? It's just
Oh,
like
so some of these
figuring it
people have
out.
never been out to sea before.
Over half of the ship had never been out to sea before. And so it was kinda scary too because the sea trials, while exciting, every single person on watch, this is their first time on watch. This is their first time operating that station with the
Yeah.
ship alive, if you will. And so it was just like I was like, "This is cool," but I'm also, like, kinda low key scared, because, like, I don't trust that guy, I don't trust that guy, I
Yeah.
saw him qualify. I don't know if I trust him over there, and it's just like it was an interesting experience, but that was really neat, to get to be a part of that, and everyone gets to do that,
Yeah.
and then over time, people started to become, more proficient, really good at those positions and those watch stations,
Yeah.
um, and you find out which ones you really like and which ones you don't like so much, and, so, like, I know I loved being a throttleman. That was one of my favorite things, because I think it's really cool, like, being able to, like, control the shaft, and the speed, and I was always what's called the lead throttleman, so I get to tell all the other throttlemen what to do, and it was just really great. I liked that. It was really fun. Um, and as a nuke, we're always really deep down in the ship, and so we don't see anything, and so you have to, like, make a point. You can exist your entire time without ever going outside, and so
Oh,
you have to
wow.
make a point, like, if you're feeling particularly sad, I'd be like, "Gotta go see the sun today,"
Yeah.
because you haven't seen it. And, so sometimes I would go and, like, sunsets and sunrises at sea are just amazing, and then the color of the water out at sea is just, like, amazing too and really almost otherworldly and, like, the colors and stuff. But
Can you
anyway, as the
talk about sorry, keep going.
as the throttleman, you have the people that are stationed outside looking for other ships or barriers or threats or marine life. And sometimes you'd hear like whale starboard side, and you have to be careful because if you hit a whale, you get fined. Like the carrier's going to be fine. It's way bigger than the whale,
Yeah.
but you still don't want to hit them. And so sometimes it's really fun, because they'd be like, "Oh, there's a whale," or like, "Oh, there's a shark," and it's like, "Oh, there's a bunch of jellyfish." And sometimes those outside watchers, because you're sharing a headset with them, you're hearing them, and you hear them talk about like pools of jellyfish getting sucked up under the ship, and stuff like that, just seeing different stuff.
Yeah.
And, hi. And, yeah, so it was really interesting, to hear that part, or hear them, talk about what they were seeing, and they ended up getting really good because we'd be like, "Hey, well, like, I haven't been outside in like 6 weeks. What's it look like there?"
Oh
And
my god.
they would tell us, what it looks like and stuff. And yes, it was really nice. But for my deployment, I went on one of the longest deployments in history for a carrier. It was a little over 10 months long. And we pulled out Norfolk, Virginia, and then went
Mhm.
all the way around the world and came back to California. And we did a change of home port. And it was a really big move. Really scary because we had to move our families. So, like, I moved my
Oh,
family right before deployment, so that way
yeah.
whenever I arrived, they'd be here. Um, and it was supposed to be a super exciting deployment, but unfortunately, there was some world issues going on, with some
What year was that?
water mines in the Strait of Hormuz and, all these rigging ships being blown up in Iran, and so we couldn't safely egress through, but we also kinda had to stay close in case, they got a little ornery, we'd be
Yeah.
there and available, and so we had a lot of port calls canceled, which was disappointing because the one I was the most excited about was, to stop at, Croatia, because Croatia is where Game of Thrones is filmed, and I
Oh,
wanted to walk the path that, we had seen so many characters go through and see a lot of buildings. There's a ton of, like, Game of Thrones tours and stuff there, and I wanted to see it so bad. We got so close to that when I had my hotel booked. We were, like, almost day of pull-in, and they were like, "Oh, canceled." And, so that was pretty heartbreaking because we had a lot of port calls canceled. So my ship unfortunately had to keep stopping in Duqm, Oman, which is a place I had never heard of before,
yeah.
and, yeah, it's just desert, they didn't really have places for us, so they set up a bunch of just chairs in the sand and barricaded us with, shipping containers, so we had, like, an area, and they had a couple vendors come in and sell us, like, small wares and, like, make food and stuff, and, not the best time, but an experience all the same, that I get to talk about.
Yeah, have you ever thought about writing a book about that? Like, I don't know if you actually can, if some of it might be classified like the exact route you took. I imagine it would have to be on the southern tip of Africa. You went around that way and then went back up towards along the
No, we
coast.
actually we actually went through the Strait of Gibraltar,
Okay. Oh,
which was really interesting too because there's a giant rock right there.
yeah.
And, there was, like, a deck party at the time, which was super exciting because that never happens, so it's where they open the top of the carrier as far as, like, you can come and walk where the planes normally are, which is, like, outrageous, to get to be able to do that. And so we're all standing on the top of the aircraft carrier, and they're just, like, blasting music, and everyone's, like, dancing and having, like, a little picnic, up at the top, and that was really fun and really exciting. Everyone's, like, taking pictures. I got some great pictures up
Cool.
there, and, yeah, it was really fun, and as we passed through, we had to go through the Suez Canal, and I remember that was, like, really intimidating because, um, some of the canals we went through were so small that when you're looking on either side, you're seeing land very, very close to the aircraft carrier. And so for like when traveling through there, we weren't allowed to be outside for security risks, only at specific small periods of time.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because I remember being out there and you're seeing, two different countries at the same time, the different land masses.
So you guys
And I
were like
remember
Egypt and
Yes, and I remember there was a bunch of Egyptians standing out, and they had made this really nice, beautiful sign, and it was like, "Welcome to Egypt,"
oh,
and and it was just like, "Oh, it's so sweet," and, yeah, it was something else for sure.
was the other country you saw, was that like Saudi Arabia or was it
Uh, I don't recall, I remember being more infatuated with Egypt, as far
yeah.
as, like, that's more of the landmass that we could actually see, and geography-wise, I don't remember.
So you were mentioning animals before, and obviously,
Yeah.
like I said, you don't hit anything, but was there ever any nights, or string of nights where you guys were kind of so far out that you couldn't really see anything, like in the middle of the ocean? And
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Almost every day, you could go without seeing anything at all, like,
any
around you.
unidentified fish, or like unidentified, like,
No. No, in fact, everything we ever saw flying at night was one of ours, one of our
okay,
planes out there, um, but, and sometimes it was nice to go see some of that, like, for a qualification that you do, you learn about a lot of the different warfare operations and stuff, and, I remember getting to go up I get to go in the tower of the aircraft carrier and watch night ops, which is the night flying, and it's really cool. It's, like, really scary too, like, I would hate to be a pilot, like, what they have to achieve to land on a carrier is outrageous, and
yeah, it's such a
I would not
small,
wanna do that.
like, for it, for it to land, yeah, it's such a small, there's no room for
Yeah.
error. Very, very
Yeah,
little.
yeah, and, they just they have to drop their little hook and catch this string, and if they don't catch that one, they have to catch the next one, and then if not, they have to loop around and come back. And it's crazy. I remember we would be in what's called Eagle's Nest, which is a part on the tower, and we'd be watching flight ops. I bet there were other people, they'd be like, amateur, because like this pilot's had to go a second time. I'm like, do you see what he's being asked of? They're in training. They're learning how to do this. I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if they do it right every time, the first time.
Yeah, some pilots just, or maybe it's just people in general that have this such good sense of direction, like where they are. Like, I remember some pilots in like Kuwait that just, yeah, we're, talking to the tower, like, hey, are we good to land? Like, it's kind of sandstorming, but if you have visibility, you're clear to land. Yeah, we're clear to land. No
Yeah.
visibility. Like, there was no visibility, but we
Yeah,
knew where we
sometimes
were.
that would happen, and that was so freaky. Like, when sometimes it would get really foggy out at sea, and you would go outside and you can't see anything. And I can't remember what ship operation we were doing, but it was a photo. It was a photo op. So we had multiple fleets together, and we got in a big V shape, and then there was helicopters above us taking pictures. And it was a force of projection, um, for at the time, or a projection of force. And it was crazy because it was really foggy, and you could hear other boats, or you could even hear other sailors, but we couldn't see each other. And I was just like, this is so crazy. And then every once in a while there'd be a strong enough wind or something. Um, and you would see the ships, and you'd be like, whoa, okay, we're super close, and stuff. And or close, for ships. One of my favorite things to get to see, though, was when we would do a replenishment. And a replenishment at sea for a carrier is, we have another ship that comes up right alongside of us, and they strap lines between us, and they're sending cargo over. And I was always really excited because we have a coffee shop on board. And so I'm like, there's my Starbucks, because they serve Starbucks coffee. And I remember I was so excited because they get some of the seasonal flavors too. And I'm pretty much, as basic as they come, and I was really excited for the pumpkin spice flavor because we were missing Thanksgiving and everything, and I was, like, really looking forward to some pumpkin spice, and I was talking to the coffee shop guys all the time. I'm like, "Ooh, do we have the syrup yet?" He's like, "Oh, next replenishment, next replenishment." And then finally they were like, "It's gonna be this replenishment." And I was so
Oh,
excited. And I was the throttleman for that replenishment, which is really intimidating and scary because you can't get too close to the other ship.
yeah.
Because if you do, then you have what's called the Venturi effect. So it creates a vacuum. It'll suck the ships together and they'll crash. So you have to be very
Oh,
careful to make sure you're not too close.
oh, God.
Even
No,
yeah. And so
I would get so
uh,
stressed.
yeah, so you have to be very careful with how fast you're going and how you're controlling your throttles and everything. And I was so excited because I'm like hearing the pallets come over. And then they made an announcement to let us know that something had happened and a bunch of pallets dropped into the water. They're gone. And I was like, that better not have been my pumpkin spice. And I had like jokingly said that to with my friends on watch, and we all laughed about it. But it was my pumpkin spice. I found out later it was the pumpkin spice, and I still didn't get it. And so, but yeah, so it was interesting still to get to see those. And oh, hi, Richard. And I there's things you look forward to because we have a really like cush life at sea on carriers compared to subs, especially, but some of the smaller ships, because we have so many amenities available. We have what's called the 7-Eleven, and it's like the ship store. So you can go in and you can get chips and like zebra cakes and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
nice.
and then there's vending machines all throughout the ship with like sodas and Gatorade and water and snacks. And so you're always like looking forward to the replenishments because all the machines are empty, the store is empty, and you're just like, oh, I need some ramen noodles. And um, it was always so exciting, to see the replenishments. They're just cool to look at. They're really exciting, because you have that risk, that danger. Everyone's got to be on point, on their toes, paying attention. And, it's really a fabulous display of teamwork, getting to see an evolution like that occur.
A buddy of mine that I ran into in Kuwait, where he was passing through coming back from Iraq, and he had a story of him and this one other friend that I had. They got to they got to not beat some. I shouldn't say that. They got to. I'll tell you what he did. So when they were in Iraq, they would every now and then, like maybe once a month, get like a pallet of like actual snacks, like actual like
Yeah.
not MREs and not these like powdered eggs. And
Yeah.
one of the things were famous Amos cookies. So
Yes.
another buddy that
Yes.
yeah
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes.
like a military thing. We all love them. So they, I guess on one of the pallets that had I guess they just didn't have as much famous Amos cookies, but it was this one person that snuck off with like a whole box of them and kept it
Oh,
in his
no.
locker.
Oh, no.
So while they were while they were at the they were at like their makeshift gym one day, they like falling out of his bag, out of his gym bag was a famous Amos cookies wrapper. Like, are those famous? And the guy tried to play it off. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I had that in there for like months. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no, you didn't. So they beat him up. It was,
Yeah, another super awesome part about being on the carriers is we could get mail. And so I'd be like, "Mom, I need snacks." And so mom would make me care packages and send them out. And I remember one in particular, and I got goldfish crackers, and I got SpaghettiOs, and mom sent me like 4 different types of crackers to go with them. I'm like on the mess deck eating my SpaghettiOs, and everyone's like, "Are those SpaghettiOs?" You know, people are like, I will buy you 3 coffees for 1 bite of your SpaghettiOs, and you're, like, bargaining for snacks and trades and stuff,
yeah,
because eventually at some point the food's, like, so bad out there that you're like, "I'm gonna try putting hot sauce on this rice and see how that goes,"
yeah.
you know? And, so when you get, like, a care package with all kinds of foods or, like, Corey sent me, like, these, Oreos that had been, like, dipped in chocolate. I didn't share those with anybody. Those were all for me. And, yeah, it was just one of those things you get super, super tasty snacks. And, mail day, we would call it Amazon Christmas,
Yeah.
because we could order from Amazon and stuff as well, and there'd be hundreds upon hundreds of packages. And so, I was in charge of the birthing for the female nukes, and there was 100 of us, and so we'd all go to our little room, where, like, our TV was and stuff, and be like, "All right, I got goldfish, I got zebra cakes," and then we'd be, like, trading and stuff right away, and it was something else, and I always know, for example, my buddy Santiago, her mom is gonna send the best chips, and so we're gonna be trading for those and stuff, but yeah.
We had something similar happen, like where the snacks like in Kuwait was nice and easy. We're not too far away from where we could replenish if we needed for resupply, but that never happened. But what did happen one day is that the guys that used to clean out our toilets, like the ones that used to pump out the what's that called, the porta potties,
Yeah.
they got like kidnapped, I think,
What?
and yeah, they showed up like a week later. They're like beat up and stuff,
Oh my
but
gosh.
the real story was that we didn't have any refills of toilet paper for like a week. It was
No.
fine for like a couple days until we
Mhm.
had this like 800 person troop movement where my back was destroyed because they all had like 5 bags each. It was nuts. But
Yes.
they demolished our porta potties. There's no toilet paper left, and so people were eventually the dining facility ran out of napkins, and people were opening up MREs for the little napkin that was
Oh
inside.
my gosh,
But
yes.
it was crazy for like 2 days. Like there was no toilet paper on base. It was nuts.
I
It was
can't.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, we would go through that. So every once in a while, the ship would get what's called double dragon,
Yeah.
and that's where people are be sick from both ends. So they're spewing fire from both
Oh,
ends, double dragon. And,
I love
like,
your
when
name
that
for
would
that.
happen when that would happen, it's exactly what you're talking about. Now you're at sea and you're like, "Okay, there's 11 days until replenishment." People are like, "I don't really need this T-shirt anymore," and just, like, cutting up scraps and stuff, and it was just,
Yeah,
like, outrageous.
sucks. So when you guys first leave from
Yeah.
shore, like how many people were on your boat? Because you had a huge, huge ship that you were
Yeah,
on.
around 5,000.
So what did they have? Like 100,000 eggs, like for everyone to eat? What
Yeah.
was the mess hall like?
So the mess halls, there were 2 mess halls, for enlisted like myself, and then there's the chief mess hall, and then there's 2 or 3
Okay.
officer mess decks. Um, They're all very different. Mine was very high school cafeteria style.
Yeah.
Very much like that, small tables, little uncomfortable, seats attached to the tables that you're sitting at. And yeah, the volume of food was outrageous. Every stop that we had, every replenishment, we were getting tons of food. Right before we would go out for deployment or just underways in general, there was a massive onloading of food. I don't even know how many freezers and refrigerators there are on board, but there's just so many. And they do a combination of real eggs and powdered eggs. A lot of the food is very different depending on your rank, as far as
Mhm.
like you have the 3 different galleys, they have 3 different foods,
Yeah.
right? Like I know the chief mess, they talk about like they have made to order grilled cheese sandwiches. And we were like, what? Like we get the oven grilled cheese sandwiches, right? Where they make a whole bunch of them on
Yeah.
one tray. It's basically toast with cheese. And, but I mean, it wasn't the worst if it was when everything was in stock kind of thing. You could make something work. There's like a little salad bar, but eventually they would run out of a bunch of stuff, and now instead of lettuce, the salad bar has like pasta from yesterday, and so you're trying to make like a spaghetti salad basically
Okay.
kind of thing. If
Easy.
you, like they've still got the ranch dressing, but not spaghetti sauce, and stuff like that. It was weird. You do different food combinations, try to make stuff work. You get really bored of the food, which is how you end up eating a ton of snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was I know for me too, like at one point a bunch of people got sick on the ship, like really, really sick. The flu was going around and double dragon was going around. And it
Oh
was
God.
so bad that they emergency flew on a bunch of Tamiflu doses, but they didn't have nearly enough for the percentage of people that were sick. And it got to the point where instead of standing watch, like every 10 hours or 12 hours, you're standing watch every 4 hours. So on watch 4 hours, off 4 hours, on 4 hours, off 4 hours. And it was awful because more than half of the crew was just super sick.
Yeah.
And the reason why so many people got sick was because the dishwasher apparently was broken, wasn't getting up to temp. So all the enlisted were having a bacteria issue through the dishes. And I was like, I can't trust anything. So for almost 2 full weeks, I exclusively ate rack snacks, vending food, and,
Oh man.
like, drinks from so, like, I didn't have, like, any actual water because we were out of water bottles, and I was like,
Oof.
"I'm not using cups. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna use any of that."
Yeah.
And so I was drinking Gatorade and soda, and I felt terrible because I'm eating
I
all
can
this
imagine.
awful junk food, but I was like, "I will not get sick. It's not gonna happen to me." And I didn't. I didn't get sick.
Good for
But,
you.
uh but yeah, it makes me nervous to do, like, cruises because, like Disney cruises and Carnival cruises and stuff. Oh, so
You're,
mom's talking about Tiger Cruise. Tiger Cruise is where you get to bring family members on board and we go out to sea.
oh,
And
cool.
so I brought my mom, and so it's really cool. She couldn't see my workspaces because my workspaces are all confidential, but I was able to show her where I sleep, my tiny little space, my tiny little rack. And then I got to take her to like some of the gyms that I go to, or like where I would eat,
Oh, you had
and like
multiple gyms on the
yeah,
ship?
so there's like 6 or 7 gyms, and they all have different
What?
I mean, yeah, and it's not like a fitness, 24-hour fitness kind of thing, like this gym has, weights, but they're all like Smith machines, because they don't really wanna do free weights too much because rough
They'll
seas,
roll around.
will yeah, and, but there are like dumbbells and like kettlebells and stuff here and there, so, like, the different gyms kind of have different purposes. Like this one gym was all cycles. So there was like 20 cycles. So you could just pedal
Yeah.
your life away. My favorite one was the seaside gym because it had rowers. And so being outside, which was again very important as a nuke, being outside, smelling that seawater air, and being in a rowing machine was just like so crazy because you're like rowing and you're like, I'm pulling the ship, and it felt like amazing. Um, and it'd be really nice just to get, air, fresh
Yeah.
air, and stuff. And then there was another, so each of the gyms kind of had their own kind of like function, which was really nice too, because just like other gyms, there's going to be like major meatheads, and so
Yeah.
it's a really nice thing. Like I was more interested in just taking care of cardio stuff and just, getting some energy out, uh, and so I was really happy to go to some of the other gyms where I'm not having to to stay in where they're doing a bunch of weights because a lot of the weight rooms are not very well ventilated, so they don't smell particularly nice. So it's not a place I wanted to be for long periods of time
Yeah.
at all. But yeah, so I got to show mom like all the places I would go. And, like, here's where I go when I'm really sad, so I can be not so sad.
Yeah.
And here's one of my favorite places to go sit. This is my favorite vending machine. You just show her everything and get to teach her a little bit. And I got introduced her to the captain, uh, which was exciting too, because I had done some one-on-one interviews with them and stuff, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much to everybody for being here. This is really exciting. And thank you, Randy, for bringing me on.
Yeah, of course.
It's really, really fun to do. I was really excited to get your message, to come on here because this is my first time doing a live stream without
Oh,
Corey. Because we've I live stream with Corey on his channel VV and 3. And actually
mhm.
we're gonna be live streaming tonight over there.
What time
Because
tonight?
we'll probably do 9:30 my time.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
might be able to
because
make that, and I'll
cool,
stop by and comment
cool.
hi because I
Yeah, because we got
going
our
to
got our 2 kiddos.
mhm.
One's a little over a year old, the other one's 6, and, the oldest one goes to bed at 9, and so once he's been yeeted into bed, then we come and run to the live stream as long as all's well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym after this at some point, and then I'll come back. I might do a live stream from like 10 my time to about the time that maybe you're going
Cool,
to go on. So that'll work out
cool.
really nice.
Lasso your guys and bring them over.
We'll do a raid. So
Yeah.
hopefully I could get on like a good like 50 or so people, and we'll hop
Nice,
on.
that'd be excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're definitely trying to grow stuff. So Corey's channel is, the monetized channel between us. Mine's still growing.
Mhm.
He's got, like 2.6 or 2.7K followers.
Oh, nice.
Mine's still only about, like, just under 300. But that's because we actually just have one computer. And so Corey and I have been sharing that one computer, which is a laptop for all of our videos and
Yeah.
everything. Um, and so where his channel is monetized, we've prioritized his content. But our big mega computer is actually in the shop right now. And so hopefully we'll get it back sometime next week. We thought we had it back, but then it had problems, so I had to go back.
No.
But yeah, so once we both have our independent computers, then my channel hopefully will continue to grow so I can do the rest of my videos. I have a
Yeah.
couple more videos planned for Women's History Month. Like I still want to do a video talking about the characters. Like you and I spoke briefly about like Powers of a Girl book that
Yeah.
I mentioned, where it talks about some of the female characters in comics and stuff. And I really want to talk about the significance of women's representation in some of these. And then I also want to do kind of like a Web3 discussion about women in crypto, because I think it's important. And I think
Yeah.
Veve is an excellent platform to bring more women into the NFT and crypto space because it's just so user friendly, right? Like so many NFT projects are difficult to get into safely and comfortably. And Veve, with the ease of access and how simple it is to use, I really think it's going to help propel more women into these spaces.
Do you are really open and telling your colleagues, coworkers about Vivi? Like when you're working, like, hey, you check this out.
Yeah, that's really interesting because my coworkers right now, we're into different coins. And so they're like, they're heavily invested in their coins and they're not open or interested in talking about any others. And I'm like, but OMI. And they're like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And so it's interesting. Corey and I are very invested. We have a bit over 1 million
Nice.
OMI. And if there was even more liquidity, we'd just be pumping it in there, especially right now. Like
I know.
it's it's so tempting. And it's really exciting too, seeing the differences with the exchanges, like OMI starting to pop up on other ones. Um, and I feel like it just has to go up. Like it's
Yeah.
just we have a lot of faith in Veve and OMI in general. So we're looking forward to that. It's like my favorite project right now. Um, but yeah, I think it's super cool. It's the most secure feeling investment I think that we've had in a long time, even though there's, some some mystery and ambiguity involved with what's going to happen. It's like an exciting thing to invest in and it's fun. It feels very gamerish and everything. And I don't know, it's a collecting thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
like
I think only more are gonna get in.
Yeah, I mean, how can they not?
Yeah.
I got my mom in, and, I'm trying
Yeah,
to
so
get,
thank God it's
other
easy.
people. Mom. Yeah. Yes. "Oh, hi, OBL." So glad you stopped in, thanks. I was telling the girls in the Women of Veve chat, I was like, "Oh, I'm so nervous to go on because, like I was saying, this is the first time I've come on without Corey, and I'm like, watch the computer crash on me. Imma have no idea what to do," you know? And I'm sure Corey's, he's like he's in another room watching the feed just in case if
Yeah,
anything goes wrong, he's gonna run into the rescue.
cool,
But,
good. I'll keep it going.
yeah.
Oh,
But
but
yeah, it's just one of those things, a couple years ago, I wouldn't have expected. I didn't know what NFTs were. I didn't know
yeah,
what
no
kind
one
of.
did.
Yeah, yeah. And when we were first talking about it, we were talking about it because our friend Brian was like, "Oh, you should do this." And like he had just had like really great luck with Hex and had just cashed out like a ridiculous amount of money. And
Yeah,
he was like, "I'm also getting into this." And we're like, "Whatever you're doing, we're doing now." And so we started checking it out. And I remember I was like, "Well, dear Google, what is an NFT?" And it's like, "Oh, non-fungible token." And I'm like, "What's fungible? What is that? What does that mean?" And so now I have a better understanding of it, and I like trying to explain it to other people,
yeah,
especially women, to get into it. And I've been listening. What's really exciting too is I'm kind of already part of the like STEM environment, as being an engineer.
yeah,
And so it's really nice talking with other women that are in, strong technical and mechanical and electrical backgrounds as well. And it's
yeah,
exciting being able to kind of join some of these other groups and talking with other women about what they're doing, and then also talking about crypto and NFTs. And it's really opened up a whole nother thing. It's been a while, I think, since I've been quite as passionate about something as I am about this. And it's so fun, like especially with like I've been interested in, the Marvel universe and all of our superheroes and superheroines. And now it's kind of like I get to study them for like work, for videos
yeah.
and stuff. And it's like that's so cool, and you learn really neat stuff about characters maybe you didn't know. I've been really delving into the female creators and the history behind women in comics, like from the 1940s, and it's just like it's crazy how like women like hid with like pseudonames and stuff, and there's so much history. There's so much interesting stuff, and Stan Lee did so many amazing things, and I just feel like I'm constantly like, "Whoa," and there's so many tie-ins, and I don't know about you, but lately too, with all the previews for the different MCU videos and stuff,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Corey and I are, like, crazily frame by frame broke down, like, the Doctor Strange, preview, and we had the new preview today for the Captain Marvel movie, I believe,
Oh, did we?
or Miss
We got a new
Marvel,
trailer
one
for
of the
that?
2. I haven't looked at it yet, but we're gonna be breaking it down. That's probably what Corey and I are gonna be talking about tonight on the live.
Okay.
And so, I really wanna get into that, I really wanna talk about that. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, yeah, right,
I can't
right? It's
I
like
can't believe I missed that. I can't wait to watch that later.
well, it was just today, so you're not
Yeah,
you're not too behind, but yeah. So we're gonna look at it, and then that's probably gonna be one of the things we're gonna be talking about in our live stream tonight because
yeah.
I love talking about all the possible connections, right? Because now when you're watching these shows, not only are they entertaining, you're like, "Wait, in that one episode of Loki, I saw this thing. Maybe it's this," and it's just like it's really fun,
It's
and,
such genius
we love it.
writing, like, they all have to collab and
Yeah,
write they have to write their own individual story, make it good, in connection with 30 other stories, and they have to know where it's going, and,
right,
oh
right.
god, it's insane.
The
I
planning
almost can't
involved,
believe
yeah.
it.
Yeah, like, it's so intimidating to think how they've been able to map all this out, like, after Endgame, like, I felt like a intense sense of loss, right? Like, we're not gonna
Lost a
have any
lot.
more of these amazing movies, and then, like, God, these Spider-Man movies are insane. I super love Spider-Man now, like, best actor, in my opinion, for Spider-Man. And it's really exciting seeing all these different connections. And I'm really hopeful too that we're really going to see a revitalization of like the X-Men and stuff because of the Doctor Strange.
Patrick
And then
Stewart.
have you watched the What If series?
Yeah, oh, yeah, of
Oh
course,
my
yes.
gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm like, I hadn't watched it for a very long time. And then Corey had me watch it like last month or something. And I was just like, there's so much, you know, like,
Yeah.
and seeing all the what if ties with the Doctor Strange too, I'm like, they could do so much. It doesn't matter that Tony's dead, right? Like
Yeah.
we might see him again, you know, all
Oh,
these
we will be
multiverse
getting a
things.
Tony in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. It's
Yeah,
not
but
going to be
which
Robert
one?
Downey Jr., but it will be.
Or will it? Will it? Is it gonna be Tom Cruise? Is it gonna be Robert Downey Jr.? Is it gonna be Nicolas Cage? Who knows? You know, and so and so but yeah, it's fun, right? And it's really cool too, because like I said, our son, our oldest one is 6, um, and he's really interested, because his name is Thor, by the way. My son's
Oh my
name is
God, that's
Thor.
amazing.
And so he loves it because we'll see Thor come on TV, he'd be like, "Hey, that's me." And we're like, "Yeah, buddy, that is you." And, like, he really likes it. He's got a couple toys of Thor, obviously, and stuff. And, he just thinks it's super grand, and it's really nice seeing the characters, Spider-Man, Hulk, all of these heroes that we've loved and grown up with in our generations being revitalized and maintained in relevance. So we can still keep them exciting for our kids. Like
Yeah.
that's a big thing for us. At least it's really really fun. Yep, Thor and Atlas, those are my sons, Thor and
Yeah.
Atlas. And yeah, so it's we love it. We're super fun into it and we're hopeful, Corey and I are hopeful too that once I'm out of the Navy and we get back to Kentucky, we might be able to just support off of YouTube. Which is another reason why too why we're so excited about having our 2 channels, you
Yeah.
know, because I think as they continue to grow, like we think there could be some cool stuff happening.
I'm
You know,
sure. I'm
I think
sure.
all of us with channels concerning Veve, you know, we're still so early in Veve. There's
Yeah.
still so much stuff that needs to happen. You know, they don't even advertise yet. You know,
I
Veve
know.
is as popular as it is just because of word of mouth and because people like us, they're talking about it online for them. Now imagine when they are advertising, once MTL has been fully implemented, we have that interoperability, we have all of this access to just move on and off the platform. And then I think that's also when we're going to be seeing really huge brands. We're going to be, we're going to see Pokemon. I know we're going to see Pokemon. If you haven't had a chance yet to look at my Pokemon theory video, I actually, there's tweets that Ecomi did in
Eight-
2019
18.
talking
Yeah.
about Pokemon or 2018.
Yeah.
And but they're gone now. They've been deleted.
Oh,
I mean,
have they?
I've got screenshots of them,
Same.
you know, but
Same.
and so and so like but I don't think we're going to see licenses like that until we have full operation and interoperability and master collector program, MTLs being implemented all over just because I think that would be too big of an ask and potentially damper that kind of release.
Yeah. I think I actually had not a video. I had a idea. People asked me what would happen first, and out of like 7 things, I was like, okay, probably MTL and then exchanges. And we've had some MTL rollouts. We've had some exchanges, or at least
Yeah.
Bitmart. And Reese had said in his interview with the Kill Patterson that we would have 4 to 5 more over the next calendar year.
Yeah.
And then I think the web app is being developed, and that should roll out next.
I'm so
Afterwards,
excited. I'm so excited about that. And the fact too that they mentioned in the AMA that that web app is going to have like a vault value thing there. And I'm like, good. Like I don't have to keep inputting it and everything
yeah,
and guessing.
they would have I think after that web app, I think we get the Pokemon announcement, and then I think before we actually get the NFTs, we would get OMI to NFT, we'd get the VVverse, and then localization, and then after that we would get Pokemon. Because I
Yeah,
think it would be really unfair to kind of snipe a foreign entity
absolutely.
like Pokemon, and then say like,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're just going to visit America. Um,
And really, I think, you know, it is a worldwide, you know, app and they want as many people as possible into it. I don't think we're going to see stuff like that until our waiting room has been implemented,
no,
you know, because even though there's so much work to negate bot activity, it is a very loud voice from many users about not catching drops. And unfortunately, I think so many people place that responsibility due to the responsibility of not having drops to be
yeah,
because of bots versus the fact that there's millions of users. You know, I think Reese, you know, like sometime last month mentioned there's like 300,000 new users every single week. Um, and you know,
wow,
for any of us who have been in it for a while, the speed in which the sold out is happening is just like increasing even more. Like even just a few months ago, like in the November, December kind of time frame, we could still like hit the buy now button multiple times,
Yeah.
before it was like sold out. And now it's the if you don't catch it in that microsecond, like that's it. It's done kind of thing. And in a way, it's good news for us, right? We want more users. We want more people on the platform, because we want VV to grow because VV's success and OMI success is our success as well.
Yeah.
And but man, it's hard sometimes. Did you land anything on the Pixar drop?
So I am so embarrassed to say
Did you
that,
sleep in? Did the
yeah.
time frame mess up?
I think that might have been part of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, like a lot of people did. Like because me and the girlfriend were out late, like the night before. We
Yeah.
weren't really out. We just um, I think Mr. Pag was on stream the night before. We were just drinking, and it was just it was a craziness. Um,
Yeah. I realized the day before because I was like looking at this stuff and I was like, weird. The VV time until drop and my time on the phone are
yeah,
like not matched up. One's an odd number, the other one's an even number. I was like, what's happening? And I was like,
yeah.
oh yeah, daylight savings. And then I was like, oh my God, I bet people aren't gonna realize it's daylight savings. And I actually
That's,
did a post on Twitter and I was like, share this, let people know. But yeah, we didn't make anything on the drop. And Corey and I, we have like terrible internet here at our house. And so
oh
we drive
no.
we drive 30 minutes away for drops, to a location that I've scouted out for 5G,
Oh,
and that's where we do our drops. And, for us, at least, comic drops and any drops that are the existing buy now button, that's the countdown button, are almost impossible. Like, they're
yeah.
so much more difficult for us to land. We need the, like, Space Gate style, appearing buy now button to have a chance, but every once in a while, we get a buy now button land, for some things. So we've gotten a couple rebounds, not as often as what they used to get, like, here's a 4-minute rebound, here's an 8-minute rebound. Um, Not so much. We were watching VV Vault's channel about his timing and what he does for that. Like, he's got this really great counter that he uses, and so we've implemented that a couple times. I know some people too are really big into Bravegate, and I'm like, "No fucking way." I'm
Did
scared.
it
It's
work?
too scary. I haven't tried it, and, it's so scary. I don't know. We might try it on some of these comics kind of thing because some of the comics lately we're just not quite at like, it's not a Grail comic, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Um, but lately it's like, "Well, I don't wanna try it on this drop," because like, I want this
Yeah.
one, you know? Because sometimes too, whenever you try and it says unavailable or all has been allocated and it still has the buy now button, but then you watch the buy now button turn into sold out. And I'm like, I feel like for Bravegate, you would just watch it turn into sold out and like not have a chance potentially. And so
Yeah.
for me, that's what's stopping me from trying it. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to so many more of our drops. I really think our big drops, like we were both saying, isn't gonna happen until after a lot of these
Yeah.
other programs are implemented. But
Pe-
yeah, we're
People kept
super
talking about gem squeezes, and I don't think I feel like the biggest gem squeezes haven't happened yet. We did get a bit of it
yeah.
with Disney, but I think when we have like a Luke and Vader, that type of thing would be good. Or if we have a, uh, like I said, like Pokemon or other
Yep.
Disney princesses, I think that'd be a huge line.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really surprised to see the Pixar drop. Personally, I was like, "Well, this is unexpected." And,
Yeah.
I felt like it came out of nowhere, and I was looking so hard for connections. Like, I was like, "Okay, Pixar was 1994. Alright, Lightning McQueen is number 94." And, like, there's another 94 connection, and I was like, the Mike Wazowski that we see has braces, so he's obviously the Mike Wazowski from the
Monsters University.
University. So I was like, "What year did he go to college?" Like, when I was trying to find some kinda connection between them or whatever, but yeah, it was,
Yeah.
oh, man, I wanted the Up House and Woody so bad. Edna I
It-
thought was cool. Mike Wazowski I thought was cool. I'm like, the only thing I would have wanted from Mike Wazowski, I think, was the Mike Wazowski with the mint number 2319. I think that would be an interesting one to have, for reference for the regular Monsters Inc.
yeah.
But, Yeah, we ended up snagging a Woody on the secondary and the house on the secondary. And, I don't know if you've seen it, but the house the in AR is just, like, insane. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think Gary O at 1234 CA3 on
Yeah,
Twitter,
yeah,
he posted a picture like that. I was like, whoa.
yeah, yeah. It's nice too because his picture made me think of, so in Louisville, Kentucky, every year there is a hot air balloon race,
Okay.
and I saw the pictures that people are sharing of the house, and I was like, "Man, this really makes me think of the hot air balloon races." And I was like and it was something I had actually never had talked to Corey about before. I was like, "Oh my gosh," as a little girl, I remember going and we'd sit, like, on this hill and have, like, a picnic, and we'd just watch all these hot air balloons and stuff, and so then I was telling my six-year-old about it, and of course, he's the mentality right now, he's like, "Oh, do they crash?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, no." It's just cool to watch them kinda thing. Um but yeah, it's just like Vivi has become such a huge part of mine and Corey's life where we're just talking about everything. And I know it sounds like a little bit of a tangent there, but it's really interesting. Like just this random Pixar drop made me talk to the boys about, this memory that I didn't realize I hadn't talked to them about, about watching those hot air balloons and stuff. And yeah, it's cool. It's just so cool.
So when Up came out before Thor was born, right?
Right.
Because that came out like what, 2012 or 2014?
Uh, somewhere around in there. And Thor's born in 2015.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I had Stephanie Celentano on yesterday. She is a former Disney employee and like
Yeah.
a Pixar expert, and
Yep.
she was saying that a lot of the reasons why they had different ones from different things is so that they didn't, like, you could do like 5 Toy Story drops and maybe you could get all the characters, but this way if they do like one from each they could have a bunch. And
Yeah.
let's say Cars was the last one, and you have people saying like, oh man, when are they going to get to Cars, and they get frustrated, so they get
Yeah.
one from each now. This is
I was really whenever they first announced the Pixar Pals, we were looking into it, and I had shared it on Twitter, but I saw a post on Facebook that was like, early 2000, there was Pixar Pals, Happy Meal toys at McDonald's, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it could be any of these." So I was like trying to theorize which ones it would be. Um, Lee
it's
says,
cool.
"Expect everything Disney owns to be released on Veve." They've said they have access to the entire Disney portfolio. Yeah, and also, there's been a lot of talk this week about Disney and their metaverse, and, like, I see people talking like, "Oh, Disney's gonna buy Veve," which I think is a little outlandish. I think people are kind of merging some of the news concerning Disney
Yeah,
and NFTs. Like, back in November, Disney announced they were gonna be making their own metaverse, essentially,
yeah,
right? And in February of this year, they hired a new director to help coordinate the, what's it called? The customer users experience, their entertainment experience for being digital and in the physical. And and then, there's been other news related to that, the new directors and the stuff that are doing, and there's like, "Oh, Disney's about to make a big move," and then people immediately were like, "Oh, they're buying Vivi." And, I personally don't think that's what we're looking at. I think Disney's just growing its own little metaverse, but
yeah.
they're gonna continue to have their NFTs, some NFTs exclusive to Vivi, and I think we'll continue to see more Disney drops, like we have this Pixar drop, that's a Disney drop, and, I think we'll just see some more stuff here, and I look forward to when we have the interoperability where we can take some of these Disney NFTs off the platform, and whether putting them into our wallets or, um, renting them out potentially to Disney, kind of thing, like the statues, for example, the golden statues that we have, a lot of those exist physically in the Disney World
Yeah, it's
or
like 50 of them or
Disneyland.
something.
Yeah, yeah, and, like, there's more that are being made, like, not all of them have been made and placed in the
Yeah,
park, and, yeah, there's just, like I personally don't think, Disney is buying Vivi. I think we'll continue to see some drops on Vivi for Disney, and I think Disney will continue to grow its own metaverse as well. I don't think it has to be an either or, but, I'm excited to see where they go for that, but I really think Disney's focus is gonna be more on the entertainment aspect and merging the metaverse NFT as far as, like the 4D rides, and stuff like that,
yeah.
and, I think that's more going to be Disney's focus. And then like the collectible NFT is going to be on the VV side. But
I think so I made a video on that the other day about like, is Disney buying Veve? And that
yeah.
for the most part, I thought like probably not, at least not yet. But yesterday, news came out that Bob Iger is going to work at Meta now. He's going to work
Yeah.
for Facebook.
For Facebook.
And I think that at some point you could see kind of a three-way deal go through because Facebook is been trying so hard to stay relevant, trying so hard to.
Yeah, but here's the concern I have with that.
Mhm.
So one of the big movements with Web3 is, well, let me back up a little bit. So Web 1 is when we had a lot of the internet things where people had freedom to access what they wanted on the internet, and there really wasn't kind of any kind of overruling control. Whereas Web 2 turned more into all these companies had control of so many things, right? Think about how many things Facebook has its hands in, for example, right? And Instagram
Instagram
and
and
all these
WhatsApp
different
and
things, right?
yeah,
Tons of things. And Web3 is moving back into that freedom from companies, having more of the user control, not company control. And so I personally don't think we'll see a version of Facebook merging with too many of these bigger platforms because Facebook is very much the opposite of what we are trying to achieve with Web3.
yeah.
Web3 is all about not having those company controls, and I know they're trying so hard to stay relevant, and I think there still might be some for Facebook, but I don't see Veve, for example, merging with a company like Facebook because we are looking for that separation. But that's my spiel on that. Let's see, he says Veve opened a store and didn't realize the line would extend to the next town. People are complaining, but they don't understand the infrastructure building process. I'm not sure. What do you
But
gather from that, Randy?
I was just meaning that they were supposed to have maybe a couple 100,000 people by now, and they have
Oh,
10 times
yes.
that. So I think
Yes,
that's
and
what he meant
also,
when the
they talked too about how when they originally started, they were expecting it just to be a collecting thing, not like a money transfer kind of thing,
yeah.
So it's like Veve itself is an ever evolving, very fluid company, that's doing a lot of things. Again, we're so early. I don't think they've established their formal footprint of like everything that they're going to be and looking to achieve.
Yeah, one of my theories, which I'll probably put in my next video, is that you know Meta has had like 10,000 people working on the metaverse for
Yeah.
I don't know, like over a year now,
But
and
think how much money they have, to be able to throw at that.
yeah, and that's why I'm very confident that something can happen. It's like okay, maybe, and this is just I used to be such a hardcore conspiracy theorist, like before I joined the military and realized that people aren't really as smart as we gave them enough credit for, as we gave them credit for.
Absolutely.
Um, I I was like full blown Alex Jones, full blown like whatever. But anyway, the takeaway is that sometimes I connect dots that aren't there, but every now and then I'm correct. I have this theory that Facebook, because they were trying to buy everything, like they bought Instagram and WhatsApp, and they tried to buy Snapchat and it didn't work. That I think that they tried to buy a Comey, but these guys won't sell. So
Ah,
because they have such a, people mistake it for the Disney app. Disney has such like a hold on them, like the 8.5% fee. And what I think will happen, or what I think is happening right now, is that Facebook is saying like, hey, let us hire this former Disney, not just any executive, like former
right,
CEO that has some
right.
major pull with the company, and saying, well, instead of retiring, let's give you this amazing like 7 or 8 figure deal to come work with us and use that as a backdoor channel. Again, what do they lose? Maybe they might spend I don't know $50 million on this one guy just to get their foot in the door with Disney and say, hey, you guys have filed to build your metaverse. We've been building one forever, and Facebook knows that Facebook's metaverse by itself is just going to be people yelling at each other about politics, but in VR.
Yeah,
But if
here's what
they
I
go and
think
get
Facebook
IP, go,
I
go, go,
think
go.
I think they're pushing to be the first, right? The first accessible metaverse. And essentially, I think they will be the first, right? There's a lot of funds there. They have a lot of capability. They're hiring people to perform these things. Hi, Dino. Um, and I think what's going to happen is they will be the first. But long term, I think we're going to think about them as like, when you get a Wii, like the Wii system, and you get like the Wii sports game for free, and it's your
Mhm.
introduction to the Wii, and you're kind of playing those little games. I feel like that's what the Facebook metaverse is gonna be like. It's gonna be our introduction, our first kind of like, "What's this like?
Yeah,
What's this VR thing?" Let me talk socially. And I think we'll leave some generations behind in Facebook. I think there will be people that are like, "Oh, Facebook Meta, that's where it's at," and, I kinda think it's gonna be really appealing to, like you were saying, the communities and cultures that are really interested in, like, political talks kind of thing. I don't think it's gonna become a political platform, but I think it's really gonna be generationally focused, and I think some of the newer generations are gonna migrate to, like, the big kid metaverses. So I think eventually MySpace I think eventually Facebook is gonna be the MySpace, for the metaverses. I do think they're gonna be the first. People are gonna be amazed, but it's gonna be the basic. It's not gonna be the best version of it. It's just gonna be the introductory thing, but then I think there's gonna be so much control. Think about the ads. We're gonna have so many ads in the Facebook metaverse.
yeah,
So many, right? And I don't know about you, but the ads are so invasive, as far as like the
yeah.
control and the
I would
monitoring
pay
that does
to
happen.
not see them. Like I pay
Absolutely.
like for YouTube Red or YouTube whatever premium to be able to
Yeah.
never see ads. I would
Yeah, and
totally
it's
pay that on TikTok where every like
yeah.
third video is an ad, or
Yes,
Facebook where
yes.
every fourth post is an
Oh
ad. It's
my
like,
gosh.
oh
Speaking
my
of
God.
TikTok, I just made a TikTok the other day and I was trying to make like some VV content. And it's really funny because it's gotten a little bit of traction. Um, you can search me. It's just the VVT and I made a couple of them. And it's really funny because I had a couple comments that were like, I have no idea what this is. And I'm like, well, it's because it's not for you. It's for VV. So you want to say kind of thing. But yeah, there's so much monitoring that's happening, and again, I think that's where that Web 2 is trying so hard to be part of Web 3,
Yeah,
but it's just very counter to what Web 3 is supposed to be. So again, I think they're gonna be the first. I don't think it's gonna be the best. I think some people are gonna stay with it because 'cause they're like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And then I think other people who are ready to move on from that extreme heavy monitoring and control by Facebook involving with everything in their life, they'll move on to these other metaverses that become even bigger.
yeah,
But yeah, I do see Facebook growing, but I don't think it's gonna be longevity. I don't think they're gonna last in the metaverse style, with us at least.
yeah. That's
Um,
why I think they need Disney. Like, hey, have your stuff interoperable with our
yeah,
metaverse, and we'll give you our tech. Now, I don't know if it's on like the Unity engine, or I don't know if it's like whatever it's on. I don't think it matters. Like if Disney can get a 1 year head start with 10,000, I mean, what did Sandbox take? How many years with like 100 people working on it? Okay,
yeah,
well they have 100 times that working on it. So something like the Sandbox probably already exists, because if it's 100x of that, then they should be able to complete it in 1/100th of the time. So instead of 5 years,
yeah.
it could be in like a couple months.
Yeah,
So
and, like, the speed too in which electronics grow, is, like, outrageous, like, one of the things I was talking with about
it's
our
like,
tech guy is, like, my big desktop computer is, like, 7 years old, and they're like, "Wow, this I don't know, it's kinda old," or, like, on, I can't remember whose channel it was. Hmm. I'm so sorry. I don't remember who it was, but but there was mention of, the processing speed in your
mhm,
phones, right? And he shared, a link to the list of all the processors, and so, like, Corey and I had looked it up, and we were running with the Samsung Galaxy S10s, and that's what we were doing for so long, and that phone's, like, 3 years old. That's, like, not that old, right? Like, we just paid it off, Like, it's
yeah,
not that old, and it's a great phone, but the processor was really slow in comparison to other ones,
yeah,
and so, because of that one video, I was like, "We're getting new phones. It's happening," and so we did, we upgraded, in hopes of getting just a little bit more speed, and so now we have the Samsung Galaxy S22s, Ultras, and, like, I don't know. I don't
Good.
know if there's a noticeable difference because again, there's millions that we're competing against,
Yeah.
but the speed in which technology is just growing. Do you think in our timeline will we see like Ready Player One kind of? Are we gonna have suits that we're gonna step into, and get to go see our NFTs in person, driving our DeLoreans around, and
I think it'll be for rich people first, later
for
this
sure,
decade.
as
But
everything
then
is.
yeah, I what that you need a bunch of those rich people to buy those expensive items so that they can
Yeah,
then fund yeah. I as it's in everybody's best interest to get that tech as cheap as possible to be able to
yeah,
sell it to everyone. So yeah, 100%. I actually even do think that um I think this might be the first time I'm saying this, that when OMI goes to whether it's $1 or and beyond $10, whatever it is, once Neuralink has an IPO, that will probably be the one of the major things that I invest into, because what better way to really enhance your experience than to have a chip in your brain where, oh, you're going through you're driving through a bunch of flowers. Okay, you can smell those flowers. Now you're driving through like a swamp. So you're like rain and mud. And
yeah,
because like there was things from even years ago where you could put something on your window and the weather that's outside goes into like your Madden NFL game. So I think that with proper coding and with proper um, engineering, and it obviously will be used for a lot other stuff than that, like how to teach paralyzed people to walk again and have people actually smell. But yeah, I
yeah,
think that will happen probably next decade, but I think we'll see the start of it this decade. So definitely
there's
within our time.
a new arc. I'm trying to look it up. I can't remember the name.
Hmm.
But there's like a virtual reality. I want to say it might be Oculus, but I don't think that's right. I know Oculus does VR gaming, but like it's a gaming rig. Whoop, there goes my phone. It goes a gaming rig where you're like on a platform with like a belt and you have special shoes.
Oh, in like an arcade.
Yes, and I
I've
can't think
seen
of
it
the
in
name of
arcade.
it.
Yeah,
I can't think of the name of it. It's
I've
crazy.
seen
Corey
people
and I,
Naruto
we're
run on
we're
it.
we're invested in it, and I can't think of the name of it for anything. Um, but yeah, those I want to say we had like the introductory kind of like invest in us, and
Hmm.
you can be amongst the first kind of users was like last year, maybe the year before. And Corey and I jumped on it. We did one of the entry point donations, that ended up being investment, right? And I remember like looking into it and I was like, this is insane. Like people can full on run on them and everything.
Yeah,
And they are in some arcades. They've been tested out in a few different places. And it's nuts. Like it's crazy how like that didn't exist and then it did. And you're like, wow, what else can this turn into in such a small amount of time? And yeah, it's something else. It's so cool. Like technology in general. And I want to see this stuff so bad. It's like I
so,
wonder if we'll see anything close to, like, or feel the experience, and I wonder what it's gonna be like, right? Like, we have different senses, right? And, like,
yeah,
one of the senses and I'm not talking about just, like, sight, smell, sound, like, one of your senses is your body's, positioning, right? Like, you don't have to look down to know where your foot is and stuff like that, unless you're paralyzed, in which case you lose
yeah.
that sense. But when we're in, like, full on VR stuff, um but I haven't experienced VR. I haven't done any kind of VR or anything, so I don't really know, but part of me wonders, like, what will it be like to, like, have your body, like, in one position, like, in your chair, but then to feel like you're, like, running, or kinda thing, or if you're in, like, one of these, um machines where you're actually moving and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's just like, we don't know, and a part of me is still like, we'll see cool stuff and we're like, "Thor, come look at this. Isn't this so interesting?" And like, we were talking to Thor about what he wants to be in a grow up, and it's a hard tie between veterinarian, um, and, like, video game designer because he's very invested in video games right now.
Okay.
But, part of me is like, "Yes, yes, video games. Yes, yes, that is where the money is, my man."
Oh,
And
developers make so much
right?
money.
And I feel like it's so different. Like, when I was a kid, like, our parents weren't like, "Yes, go design video games." Whereas now people are like, "Oh, you're a graphic designer.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What video game did you work on?" And it's just like, because it's huge, video gaming in general is huge. And we've got the new, Illuvium. Dude, I can't wait for Illuvium to come
Oh
out.
yeah, that looks awesome. That looks
Th
great.
that's a huge reason why we wanted to get the second computer, so Corey and I can both be playing, and I'm just like, I can't wait for that. That is super exciting. The fact that you can, like, earn, like, coins,
Yeah,
like cryptocurrencies, like, it's
that
so
that's the
neat.
future.
It's so neat.
That
I'm
is the
like,
future.
I think that's gonna, like, make me, like, a streamer girl, right? I'm gonna be like, "Alright, let's go. We're gonna," so you can be,
Get
like,
a
from the
Twitch account.
beginning, kinda thing. Because it's
Yeah.
kinda hard, right, to, like, jump into stuff that exists, you know? Like, when did you start in VV? Were you here from the very beginning, or did you come sometime later?
So this is where I messed up. I was told about it in like January of 2020, and I made a VV account in February of 2020. I did not really get in though until like March of 2020. I'm sorry, 2021. My apologies.
Yeah.
2021. And why it was because I was so concentrated. I was still working, so I had two companies, and I was in Earth Two, and I had just made partner for YouTube on January of 2021.
Yeah.
And I was like a girlfriend. I was like, I just didn't have time, and I was buying this huge Pokemon card, and just eventually after the purchase was done, okay, I got into maybe a little bit, and I tried to drop, and the reason I really got into it was because it was attached to OMI. Like I heard about Vivi before I heard about OMI,
Yes.
and then as I heard about OMI, and it's like, oh, it's attached. Wait a minute, I have this. I was like, wait. So
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
it all like clicked, right? I was like, oh god, it's gonna be huge. So
Yeah, I wanna say Reese in his recent interview that he did, he was talking about how everyone either came for one or the other, like, they
yeah,
bridged, and that was
yeah,
the same for us too. Corey and I actually didn't come in until, the Walt Disney moment, like, the partner statue, that was our
yeah.
introduction, because we had kinda heard a little bit about Vivi from our friend, and then he was talking about it, and we saw the news about the Bart Simpson, like, the skateboard and the Bart statue.
Wait,
We
it
were
was on the
like,
news.
there was an
Oh,
article,
okay.
that had come out, and we were like, "This is insane." And then they were like, "There's about to be another golden moment, and it's gonna be the partner statue." And I remember we were just like, "What are we doing? What is this? I don't understand." Like, trying to make it
Yeah.
happen, and we missed the drop, but we're trying to do rebounds, and we just didn't know what we were doing, and then secondary market opened, and we snagged one for, like, 2.6K, and that was, like,
Oh.
yeah, and that was, like, a crazy thing because 'cause we're, like, trying to move gyms over, and the bank's like, "Declined, declined, fraud alert,"
Yeah.
and we're like, "It's not fraud, it's us," and they're like, "Oh, okay, release," and then we're like, "Buy, it's good, buy again, fraud alert," and it was just like it was a rough one, but yeah, we snagged one and we were super excited about it, still super excited about it, we think that's one of our more, valuable, collectibles that we have,
Well,
and yeah, it was just like we were sold, like, immediately, like, ever the market was happening, and we were preparing for the market to open, and we were like, "Man, we can pay, like, 5 or 600 for that, I'm sure it'll probably double market," 'cause that's what our friend was saying, "Oh, it's probably gonna be 800 or so," and we're like, Yeah, but no more than 1,000." And then the markets happened, and we're like, "Ah," trying to catch it. But yeah, it was, the hat is sold, like, quite immediately, and that's, like, our thing too that we're like, "We are not selling Waltz," like,
and
that's
you
our
still have your
grail.
wallet?
Mhm. Yeah, but the
Okay.
primary of our, collectibles or for our collection is not the collectibles, but the comics, just because we feel very strongly with the having IRL comics,
Because it's
and
proven.
having a
Yeah.
base. Yeah, it feels more comfortable, it's a little more interest of us. We feel like there's more security involved with the comics versus the collectibles,
Yeah.
but we love the collectibles. There's several that we have. I'm also a big fan of the art pieces, like, especially the Tara McPherson pieces. Super
Yeah.
love those. I am a huge fan of Tara McPherson and, her style, and it's so interesting. She's one of the most, interesting toy makers for, like, 2021, like, one of the top toy makers, for women especially, and it's just, like, really cool. Her style's so unique and everything. I have a board game, with her art in it and everything,
That's so cool.
and, yeah, it's something else, and, lately too, I've been messaging some of the female artists from the platform,
Mhm.
so I can start doing interviews. And because it's one of the things I'd like to do on my channel is to talk more about some of the women creators, not women creators. I'm sorry, the women artists behind some of it. Because if you didn't catch, or if you didn't get to watch my whole International Women's Day video, I highlighted the women that we currently have, and there's very few. There's very few women that
Yeah.
are on the platform as artists, and so I'm looking forward to talking with more of these women and seeing, what's it like for you? Because like I know
Yeah.
for me in the military, being a woman is hard, but being a woman specifically in an engineering field in the military
Yeah.
adds a little extra more toughness. And so I'm curious, in still a male dominated field of collectibles and comics, like, do they feel that, kind of thing? Or is it just nothing? Is there just not a lot of women that are interested in doing that aspect? So I'd be curious, to talk with some of them.
Yeah.
And
I imagine it is anyone where you feel like an outs. Like I felt that in the veterinary field. I was a veterinarian assistant before I was in the military for like 9 years,
nice.
and it was like all women because like everyone wanted to like cuddle
Yeah.
like the puppies and stuff, and then you could tell who was like new and who was not. All the girls that were like new had like smiles on their faces. All the girls that had seen like a bunch of death are just like coffee
Yeah.
and cigarette. They run on coffee and cigarettes, and
Yep.
but but yeah, I'd imagine we'll have more this year too. Like we had last year at Designer Con, a bunch of the artists came and we were just talking. I mean, they were
Mhm.
there to talk with the team, but I happened to be there. I was like, "Oh, hey guys," and
I
we
know
had this.
there's so much stuff, like, with Designer Con, and, like, all these, like, meetups that are happening, like, I see people, like, meeting up, like, on Twitter and stuff,
Yeah,
where Veve and, like, Collectibles and stuff and comics are bringing these people together, because like, also think, like, what would we have in common or talk about if it weren't for Veve, kind of thing, like, we're
I mean,
connecting with
probably the
people that
military, but
but how would we have found each other, right? Like,
oh
what would have brought us to start talking, kind of thing.
god,
And it's just
probably
like an interesting thing,
yeah,
and also the fact that it's a worldwide thing is really cool. Like I was messaging with this guy from France. We were talking about different collectibles, and yeah, it's something else. But I hate that we got into VV so late because I absolutely would have jumped in on some of these like designer con things and stuff.
yeah.
And I see so many of our, creators that have, like, the really cool, like, VV lights, like, behind them, and, I'm like, "Those are so cool." They're
Yep,
so
got mine over
neat.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I see pictures of it and, oh, yeah, there's Robbie. Robbie is super interactive with both mine and Corey's
Yeah,
channel as well, yeah. Um, we have a lot of, like, in common, viewers, which is really cool, seeing
yeah,
people bounce between the creators,
yeah.
and
Dino's
so much
like it with
support.
everyone.
Yes.
Dino knows everyone. He's such a cool dude.
Mhm. I love watching his stuff.
Yeah,
See, we're in a holy shit life-changing moment. I saw the potential of crypto years ago. Having control of your assets is huge. No one can cut you off. Look how easily people's withdrawals from banks were capped. Yeah, for sure. Again, that's the appeal, for crypto and
yeah.
Web3 in general, being able to disconnect from all these controlling operations and being able to have your wealth and your assets in your hands. And it's super appealing. 5 years ago, I've been like, "What do you mean you don't wanna have your money in a bank? That's the safest place for your money," you know? Now I feel very differently.
Yeah.
And
So now, yeah, it's so strange how things like I think that's a Hillary Duff lyric. In a moment, everything can change. And it's
yes.
like, yeah. So I would have I mean, once OMI hits, whether it's later this year, early next year, and we get to like let's say like 10 cents, I really underestimated or overestimated the amount how comfortable I would be in case OMI crashed. I was like, well, life's to be fair, my lifestyle hasn't changed since
Yes.
OMI has gone down, but
Yes.
I wish I could have more money to be able to throw at it now that
Absolutely.
it's down. So
Absolutely.
when OMI
Like,
does go up,
originally
I'll
our
I'll liquidate a little bit.
yeah, our first I don't know, I don't think we will. I've seen people talking about how they're looking forward to using, OMI on Vivi to, like, buy collectibles, and I'm like, "Not me. Not me at all. 1,000,000% no." And the reason why is because, years ago, I read this story about this guy in early Bitcoin, was using, like other people. using Bitcoin to, do transactions and stuff. And he paid 4 Bitcoin for a burger and a fry.
Oh,
And
no.
I don't wanna be that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't wanna, a couple years from now be like, "Yeah, I spent, 150 OMI, on this really cool, kitty looking Spider-Man," and it's
Yeah.
worth 57 gems now,
Yeah.
and I just don't wanna do that. I'm so terrified because I really expect OMI's gonna grow, and so, like, I'm just like, "No, I don't wanna spend it, I don't wanna liquidate it. I just wanna hold it, it's gonna grow."
We're so early on this that there's like I remember it was yesterday when I was interviewing Kill Patterson, somebody said, "Hey, remember when we were on GoChain?" And like if you are I haven't really thought about that outside of this Gate.io fiasco. I haven't thought
Yeah.
about it in like a month. Like how quickly we forget the vicissitudes the last few months when it's
Yeah.
done. Like you were
Yeah.
here for this. We in like April of last year or March of last, we didn't have a marketplace for like a month.
I
Like
know, I've heard the horror stories, like, people are like, "Remember when the marketplace was down for, like, weeks?" And I'm
yeah,
just like, "I can't imagine." Like,
it's nuts.
there's situations that I've heard about that I'm like, "Would I have stayed? Would I have been like, 'Oh, I'm still all in,' kind of thing?" Because even though we're still early, we've been in it at a point where it still feels like in a very upward trend. There is a
Yeah,
lot of changes, a lot of growth that has happened since November. And so it's
yeah.
very easy to be like, "Oh, yes, this is amazing," and, but yeah, I've heard, like, horror stories, about, like, stuff that's happened before, but you also hear, like I watched some of early videos for the Gale and him being like, "All right, so I bought 9 of these and 8 of these," and, like, I watched his early Mermicornos videos, because we had the Mermicornos series 2 that came out in January?
Yeah,
Question mark? And
yeah.
so I was like, "What the hell are these?" And, like, looking them up and stuff, and so I watched, like, the Gales video about it, and I was like, "Can you imagine? Can you imagine over days of a drop happening being like, I guess I'll get some more of these," like or I
I,
wonder about the people that got, like, that got the Todds and then sold them for, like, 10 times the drop price, and I wonder
and
where
it
they
was
are now,
yeah,
like
like now they're like 10 times past that because at
Yes.
10x they would have been like $700 and but
Yeah.
at 8x or 10x after that, yeah, it's like 7K now.
Yeah, and
Um,
sometimes I wonder too, like, if we'd been really, really, really early, like in those beginning ones, some of those DC drops, like not just the black and the white, but like the Harley Quinn Black, White, Red, the rendering that the DC did on their collectibles is just amazing, right?
yeah,
Like, I don't think there's quite as many collectibles that I dislike as much as the oh no, I was panic selling Bitcoins around $10. Hold your OMI, learn from me. Yeah. I'm so sorry, man. But yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, the DC females and faces that are rendered are just so detailed. DC cover girls, the
mhm.
bombshells, fucking amazing. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah,
And
they look great.
and then we had like the Sue Storm and Storm, and I dislike both of those collectibles,
Oh, really? I got them both. I have both
very
the
much.
sets. Yeah,
Very much. I was really bothered that Storm's, like, scarf thing goes through her leg. That
yeah,
that really bothered me. I think her face looks weird. And then for Sue Storm, again, I think her face looks weird. And I think that's because the bombshells and the cover girls and the black and white and stuff really kind of set the precedence for like what you can do for like the faces.
yeah.
And I was just like, what is this? Like I wanted more. Um, but yeah, I think those are kind of honestly my least favorite collectibles on the app
Wow.
just because I was just like so disappointed in them. I was like, these could have been amazing, and
Yeah,
we own them, for the sake of, diversity in our portfolio, but
yeah.
as far as it
I think
comes to the most beautiful one, the Frank Cho, Supergirl for the season 2, oh my gosh,
that's thirst trap AF.
beautiful,
Like that
absolutely,
one.
absolutely, but I mean, that's what he's known for too, right? Making those super sultry, super
Yeah,
sexy women,
yeah.
um, And if you look up some of his work, especially once he got called out on making the superheroines too sexy, he was like, "Oh yeah, well, you think that's too sexy? Let me show you what they look like now."
Oh, I can't wait to
And
Google that.
oh, absolutely, you're gonna have so much fun with that. He's got some amazing work. But yeah, he truly after getting called out, he's like, "Okay, now they'll be extra sexy."
Oh, that's
And
great.
yes, they made some very voluptuous women. And yeah, so seeing his work is just like really, really interesting because that's his style for sure. But
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And the face that's on that Supergirl compared to the NFT version of the Joelle Jones Supergirl for season 1, that's a
Mhm.
beautiful physical collectible. I don't think that facial expression and position quite turned out the same in the NFT compared to
Yeah.
the physical version. Um, but the Frank Cho one, just beautiful. I look at it all the time. We don't own that one. And all the time I look at it and I'm like, I think today's the day. Not today. Not today. I gotta get this Woody, you
It's
know?
like that
And
starfish
so
meme from Nemo. Today's the day.
ah, ah, I can't believe Nemo wasn't with the Pixar pals. I
There's going to be probably 10 other Pixar Pals drops, like minimum,
ah,
because
yeah. There's so
you have to
many,
get like
right?
all the Incredibles. You have to
What
get
if
all of the.
wh
Hmm?
sorry, what's like, "Hi, buddy. What are you doing?" This is Thor.
Hi, Thor.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. I'm
Alright, do you wanna
Randy.
go hang out with daddy while I'm streaming,
No, I
please?
want a new game.
We'll talk about the games
No, no,
afterwards.
no. It's on my. It's on Festus. You know what?
Don't worry, baby.
No, they call
Nope,
mom.
baby, we'll talk after. Thank you.
It's a free game.
And, and, I've lost it.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And so,
Oh,
um
your mom's like, "Hi, sweetie."
Hi. But, yeah, what if they don't complete him though? Like, there was at one
There'd
point
be
in my time
riots.
yeah, but, like, how many of the collectibles that we already have are only 1 series so far, right? Like, what if there's not gonna be multiples? Like, I
There.
would hope that there
Wait, which
I
ones
mean
aren't completed?
well, I'm not saying there's incomplete ones, but there's so many more options. There's so much more things that they could do, right?
Yeah,
Like, for the DC cover girls, there's still a whole lot of them. How many are they gonna do all of them? Who
it's
knows?
true.
You know, like, um, the specific TV shows that we've seen, like Adventure Time. They have 2
Yeah,
seasons of that. They do have a lot of the characters. They don't have all the characters. There's some other characters I would have expected to see.
yeah,
Um, and like there's just so much. And part of me is like, are they all gonna come into an NFT form? Or are we only gonna get a sampling? And at one time I was like, well, for sure we'll see them all. But now I'm like, but what if there's not? What if they don't give us all of them? I think we'll still get some of the really big ones. Like I do think we'll eventually see Nemo.
yeah.
Um, but I don't like if they were to commit to all the big Pixar characters, that is so many. It's so many, and I just don't see
Yeah.
it being possible
That's
kind of thing.
I do. I think that at some point we're going to have like be like a Disney weekend or like a Disney December where you're gonna have okay, here's
Do you say
one day
Disney
each.
Simber? Like December Disney?
Yeah, I that's what I thought it was gonna be in December when they announced it, but then there's like, okay, we're having something in November and we didn't get to it. But
Uh,
yeah, I think that because there's so many characters and if you have one drop per week of all like Disney, Pixar, not even including Marvel. Marvel's a whole other thing. One drop per week for Marvel. You do that for
right?
10 years and you're still not gonna go through it all. But for for Disney, yeah, for Disney, you could have one drop per week and in 10 years, maybe you can get through everything.
Yeah, but and speaking of drops too, how's this drop schedule treating you? It has got me, like, all stressed out, and, like, yesterday, I was like, "We have no pending announcements. What is going on? When are we gonna hear the next drop?" Because I was really used to the Tuesday, Thursday comics, Saturday collectibles, right?
Yeah,
And,
they
you
moved
plan
it
your life
around.
around that, like, "No, we cannot go to the aquarium on Saturday. There is a Veve drop. There's going to be a
Yeah.
Veve drop," you know? And, this kind of, like, hodgepodge all over the place is just driving me nuts. I wish they would just give us, like, a monthly calendar. Like, "Here's what it's gonna be. There's a drop." Even if they don't tell us what it's gonna be, there's a drop on this day, this time.
Well, here's the thing. I was part of a small think tank that helped create the Ukraine drop. Like that, if it weren't for that little like think tank, I don't think we would have seen that. So
Yeah.
I don't think Veve wants to give out a schedule when they go and see, because then if they have to move on the fly, like we were supposed to get something for International Women's Day, but because
Yeah.
one of the Veve offices in Ukraine
Yeah.
and had delayed us, and maybe Pixar's moved up, like so I don't think it would be good for them to give out a schedule, because if we miss that schedule,
Very
then
fair.
they'll be
People
held
will
to
lose
pay.
their minds. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Let's see. Yeah, like we're still waiting too for the Rewind Collective drop for Women's History Month.
Well, that's a
That was announced in the
5 year.
Vanity Fair.
That is a 5 year contract. So there's loads of time.
Right, but what I'm saying is specifically in reference to the Vanity Fair article last month stating
Yeah.
that the Rewind Collective is going to have a drop here in March for Women's History. Not just their 5-year contract that they have with Amar Sin, or
Yeah.
Sin, however you pronounce his last name.
Why is he Art Patron on Instagram? I don't understand. Like that's his Instagram. It's Art Patron.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know like why. I don't understand.
I don't know. Maybe he really likes Patron. We know he likes art. Art and Patron. That's how he gets his stuff done. Oh yes, I went Happy Feet the Penguin.
Yeah.
Is that Pixar or Disney? I think
I don't
it's
know.
Disney.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another cute one, especially if it's animated. People are panicking during these low OMI drops. Me friends are buying like fat cats or crypto vets, so we know a project with actually use case. Yeah, one of the things we've been like Corey and I have been so excited for, like when we first started buying our OMI,
Mhm.
it was a little higher than some of the lower values that people had been talking about them getting in, and we're like, whatever, like it's a little higher than that guy, but it's still a good price. And now we're
Yeah.
like, yes, get more, so the overall cost, per coin is like going
Yeah.
down. And yeah, it's just like for real, if we had the extra liquidity, we would just be like multi-OMI millionaires,
Yeah.
like for sure. But it's tempting. Like, and I called my mom too, and I was like, Mom, I need you to invest like 10K into this. This is like so this is gonna be our retirement. This is for everybody, kind of thing. And it's
That hurts when I tell people that, and like to their credit, I've been telling people this for. I mean, I started buying in March of last year, but I didn't or April of last year, but I didn't really start telling people about it until the summer. And like, fair point, we're slightly above where we were in the summer.
yeah.
So if like, but it hurts when like I tell like guys, you gotta just invest something, leave it for a few
Yes.
years. I'm like,
Yes.
nah, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stick with, whatever they have in like stocks or whatever. I was like,
Yeah. That's
it's
like
like
some of my girlfriends are like, "Oh no, it's like crypto's so intimidating. Like I don't know what I'm doing. What's a Bitcoin?" And I'm like, "Okay, well fine, just these NFTs." Right? And I'm like, "You
yeah,
don't even know you're investing in OMI by investing in these NFTs, because they're all tagged to it." Like I can't wait to see what happens when people can start burning, right? Like what
I
I think OMI is gonna boop as soon as that happens, right? Like it has
yeah,
to. And I expect all these whales to just scoop up like tons of these collectibles just for burning, or people just for the points, stuff for master collector. And I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I can't wait because if either one thing will happen, but it'll affect the other. Either I think the NFTs will go up first, and as the NFTs go up, like if suddenly my Eddie Rizzo Batman goes from like 14,000 to 25,000, I would
Yeah.
have no issue selling it for like $18,000 worth of OMI or USDT or whatever.
Really? Yeah.
Because then if OMI stays the same price, because OMI will catch up at some point,
Yeah.
and then when it goes up, and if the if the Eddie Rizzo stays the same price as one goes up, then I would just go back and forth. But I think that's what people will do in raffles. They'll bet like, oh, here's $100 collectible. And I guarantee you some people will be very salty. They'll say like, oh, I bet $10 worth of OMI, but I didn't get a guaranteed, thing with the raffle. They're not,
Yeah.
and they'll get their $10 worth of OMI back, but there will be people that'll spend $100 worth of OMI, that'll get burned. They'll still have to pay for the collectible.
Yes.
And then they can sell that $100 thing for $350. They replace that OMI, they net some
Yes.
gems.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's going to be making people so much money. And because we're
Yes.
going to have drops pretty much every day at some point this year, people will quit their jobs. They will, like, because if it's $100 a day, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Like we're watching it and we're just like, this is it. This is our thing, and I can't wait. I know things are going fast, but things are going slow, like, at the same time.
yeah.
Is that your buddy with the Toyota?
He's been on here for a while. Like, he's been on
Gotcha.
the so just
But, yeah, it's just I'm ready for these things to happen. I know we keep getting news about NTL, and I know there's so many things that are preventing a rapid, change in it. I can't wait for us to start seeing the waiting room, kind of style. I love the concept of the waiting room, at least right now I do. We'll see
yeah.
how it feels whenever, it's being implemented. Um, but to not have to to not have to drive and, like, be reliant on speed for drops or connectivity is really exciting to me. And Corey and I for a couple months now, we've been like, these are probably the last drops we're gonna hit, like, because once this happens, we don't see drops happening nearly as frequently. I think it's gonna really equalize worldwide, instead of maybe I think a lot of people are like, it's very heavy drops in the United States. Um, which is hard to say because, I isn't the United States like the top user base, kind of thing, like the amount of people that
Yeah, I think
use it
so.
in the United States. So obviously there's gonna be more drops in the United States because there's so many people in the United States that are participating.
Yeah.
But I really think it'll provide some equality worldwide for the drops. And so because of that, Corey and I have been like, we're probably not gonna be landing drops. And then we're kind of saying that each time. And then so when they do happen, we're like, this is awesome. Like, the last collectible I landed was the last golden moment for the Lady and the Tramp statue. Corey got one of
Oh,
them,
cool.
but I don't remember which now.
Oh,
See,
if you got the
Robbie
Donald and Daisy.
Warner Bros, but it's still something I want
Yeah, I can't wait
for
till because we have the
yeah.
partnership, but Warner Bros. Could be like Harry Potter. It could be
Yeah, there's so many confirmed licenses still. Like I said earlier, I have that whole video about the confirmed license that we have yet to see. And the Jurassic Park is the one I'm the most excited about of all of the ones that I've seen. That and more of the Citroen, like those like theoretical cars, but I wonder if we have to wait until that um technology is available for us to really drive around more kind
yeah.
of thing. But I thought it was really cool that we got the Triumph motorcycles. That
Yeah,
was
those are awesome.
that was so unexpected. Like, in all honesty, the 007 drops for us, like, I was very much like, "I'm not even trying for this." Like, it's gonna be under floor price. The floor price is gonna be under drop price,
Yeah.
for so many things. And then we got the Triumph, and we're like, "We have to get it." Like, it was very exciting.
yeah. What collectibles would you be like selfish with? Be like, this is staying mine. And which collectibles would you be like, yeah, I could rent you out to other people. Don't really care what happens.
Right. So for renting, I think I'm kind of torn because one of the concepts I've played with is the idea of blockchain history affecting the value. Uh, and like, let's say, because digitally these are all perfectly identical, with the exception
Yeah.
of the serialization, the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And there are people that are like, okay, mint numbers matter, or like sequential numbers, specific numbers, right? Like I mentioned the Mike Wazowski 2319, or very specific things, birth dates, etc. And then there's gonna be collectors that are like, oh, I collect number 204 of everything, right? Every collectible I have is number
69.
204. And yeah, and so there is stuff like that. But I do wonder too, like when you have a car that's being leased out to multiple owners, or that same car that has a sole owner, that single owner car, in my view, is more valuable than a car that has been handed around. Even though the NFTs are not degraded, right? There's not a degradation that's happening in the transfer. I
Mhm.
do wonder, like for some of these iconic pieces, if you can be like, so owned Walt or so owned Todd, or things like, again, Tara McPherson. Tara McPherson auctioned off one of each of her pieces on Veve from her drop.
Yeah.
How significant could it potentially be that the artist to that NFT owned that NFT first and then you have it, right? Like you have the artist's name on the blockchain for this NFT. So I don't know if I'm down for renting yet. I think it'll be a thing for sure. I think
Yeah.
this loaning out of NFTs will happen. But I don't know if I would want to participate just yet, just
Yeah.
because I'm like, what if this is a thing? Do I want to
I have seen that
kind of
already with
Oh, have you? Okay.
somebody bought my Todd for like over the asking price. Like I was like, oh, I might, sell it for OMI, and and I was saying like, okay, well, this would be the good exchange rate, and he's like, well, I'll pay you more just because it's yours. Like, okay,
Aw.
thanks.
Yeah.
And
So
Dan Chaubel had that on his, like, he listed his above the floor, and so I was like, oh, this is Dan Chaubel's, let me buy it. So I have seen this
yeah.
already,
Yeah.
and
So I do wonder, and once too we get more like celebrities in on the app, like there are celebrities that are really big into NFTs. Even Snoop Dogg has his own, whole line
yeah,
of NFTs and stuff. And again, I think, like having pieces, especially imagine like characters, Pixar characters, and imagine the voice actor owning that
oh,
NFT
that'd be
and
great.
then selling it, so like I own the Mike Wazowski who that's been owned by the voice actor for Mike
Yeah,
Wazowski or something along those lines. Um, yeah, I think that would be like I wonder if that's a thing because people are going to be
it will be.
looking for reasons and ways to identify and kind of like extrapolate differences between these digitally identical items, right? They're going to look for reasons to make their NFT more valuable. And some of those will be very
Yeah,
popular ideas that people will jump on board with. And I just think this is
I,
going to be one of the ones that will
yeah,
happen.
I do see that at a Comic-Con one day, like where people will go and be like, hey, here's my Veve app. Transfer your collectible to me so I could have it, and then I'll transfer it back to you. So it has
Yes,
my digital signature, and
exactly.
people would pay.
Exactly.
I'd pay so much money for that. If
Absolutely.
I,
Because you can't have them sign your comic. You can't have them
yeah,
sign your actual collectible. But if they have ownership, even temporarily, doesn't matter if it's for a second or if it's for 10 years, they're now on the blockchain and you're getting exactly that
yeah,
digital
I,
signature, which can
I would
set
pay
you
so much for
aside.
that.
Yeah, because even though some of the collectibles have artist marks on them or signatures, all of them are going to have it, right? But imagine
Yeah,
having a collectible that digitally has the artist's signature, but now also on the blockchain, it was owned by that artist and now you own it
yeah.
too.
I
Like,
would spend. I would say if I could have like a Captain America NFT, or even like a Buzz Lightyear that I can get to, to like Tim Allen, I would pay $100 for a package deal. Like, hey, can I transfer this NFT? Can we get a selfie
yeah.
together? Because
Yeah,
if you get
absolutely.
people pay $50 at Comic Cons for like selfies, and
Absolutely.
nobody's gonna buy a selfie of you and that person, but they will buy if you combine it. Like, hey, the selfie will be for
Yeah.
me, and this will be for somebody else.
Yeah,
And
here's the notoriety. Not only do we have the blockchain history, but here's the photo for the moment in time in which it happened.
yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
confirmation that it has. So I would pay so much, and people will be down for it because if, let's say they split it from Comic Con 50-50, well, I'll get in line 10 times. If they don't want to sit there, for
Yeah.
10 minutes, I'll go get in line 10 times. They'll have
Yeah.
a bunch of other people doing that, especially for people that maybe could afford the extra money for that, but they don't want to take time off work to go to that
Yeah.
particular convention, pay for airfare,
Yes.
pay for hotel. A lot
Yes.
easier to let someone else do it.
Or considering it accessibility.
And
Because when you think of like there's some DC is making like some trading cards, right? And it's the first time they've ever made them. And these trading cards are paired with NFTs. There's QR codes on them, very similar to the LOL dolls,
yeah,
those toys, where whenever you buy them, you're getting an NFT. At the same time, DC is doing that as well, which is really interesting because there's the collectibles, there's comics, there's movie posters, there's all kinds of stuff. And so, but they're only being released in the United States, right? So only people in the United States can access them. So once you get them, oh, thank you so much, Real Sock. I appreciate that. So once you're getting them, not only are they tied to DC, but they're also tied to these NFTs. And now you've got the exclusivity of them only being available in the United States, and you can help pass them on to other people around the world. So going to these locations and places and garnishing or gathering a bunch of them to then be able to distribute, I think is going to again add value. But there's so much. It's so deep, and everyone's coming up with new ways, like I was saying, to make their NFTs exceptional or different from this digital exactness to everyone else's. And some of them are like, that's a good one. I would pay for that. I wouldn't pay for that one, but I would pay for that.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
What I would really want to see is, yes, it'd be great to have people that, like the voice actors that did it, but there's a Pokemon group that I was in. It's called E4, and somebody said, hey, this is going to be a wild chance. I'm going to throw it out there. But they would pay like $10,000 for any Pokemon card that was signed by Princess Diana. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, that's interesting, because there's a small window where that might have happened.
Right.
And
very small. Like, who would ask her to sign a Pokemon card in the first place? Like, why?
Yeah.
What? I don't have any pins. Oh, here's this
here's
this Voltorb, like.
Yeah, I think people might have to do that with other, maybe not necessarily royalty, but it would be cool even if it wasn't signed by again, a lot of us like kind of like small local celebrities, like Brock McBlockchain and everyone else. But if we can get like Mr. Beast, oh hey, this is from him, or this is from somebody else, I think it wouldn't have to just be the person that played that character.
Yes.
I think
yes. Well, like one of the things again about these DC cards, one of the things I was considering is, like, let's say it is for a specific character, and especially for characters that are being revitalized or regaining popularity at this time. You've got the card, it's attached to an NFT, and you have the director of the movie or the actor or actress who played it sign that card. So you have a physical tack to that NFT as well as, the NFT itself. Again, there's so much speculation that you can do about ways you can make them more valuable. They're more than just pictures, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see what other things people will come up with as far as like what else can make them valuable, what else can make them unique. Because I know some people are like, they're exactly the same. There's no difference. There's people that don't believe in the serialization of the cards. Like there's no value to be there, but honestly, there's value wherever people look for it. And if enough people are interested in it, then collectively you're going to see value. We see that on the market floors all the time. And clearly the market as a whole values these these numbers, these minting numbers, even though they're exactly the same. And so why wouldn't you roll with the value that is trending on the market? It doesn't make sense, to not roll with that. Why sell your extremely low mint NFT at a floor value when they're selling for 4 times that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can't argue with, like, people are willing to buy it. You should be selling it at what people are willing to pay for it. But it's interesting, right? Like we see some of these drops and we're like, this is going to be huge on the market, and there's other ones where it's like, nothing's going to happen with this. It's interesting too, to see in the gem squeezes, which things go down, right? Like, Corey and I have been watching so many things. We've got like a list and we're like, next big gem squeeze. We're going for that. We're going for that. We're going for that, and we're talking about some of our low mint items, low mint collectibles, maybe selling them when they're at higher points and then buying like a floor priced one. So we still maintain ownership of one of the collectibles, maybe not the super low serial number, kind of thing. Every once in a while we see posts on Facebook, Twitter, etc., or people are like, finder's fees. I'm looking for mints for this. I'm looking for this, and stuff. And I'm not going to lie, there's times where I'm involved in a lot of the Facebook groups. I do a lot of the social media for not only my page, but for Corey's page as well. Yeah. And so I'm in like a dozen of the VV groups on Facebook, and I interact with a lot of them. And all the time, I'm like, when people are selling, and then I see on Twitter, someone's like, oh, I'm looking for this. And I'm like, oh, let me see, are any of the ones that are out, right now, what people are looking for? Because imagine the satisfaction it must feel like. Like, there was a post I saw on Twitter for a guy for the Pixar Pals where he was like, I'm collecting all of like number 209 or 208, 204, something like that. And he had 4 of the 5, all that same mint.
Oh, wow.
And he was just looking, I think, for Edna. And I legitimately was like, let me scour all these Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Because not because of like potential finder fee, but it's kind of cool to be like, hey, bro, like there's only one of these and I found it. Here you go.
I hope he
And
gave you a finder's fee for that.
well, I didn't finding it, but I looked, in hopes
Yeah.
of being able to find it. But it's so interesting, right? And I wanted to be like, why? Why that number? What is it? Right.
What number
And
was it?
it's like 204, 209, 208, something like that. So
Okay.
like I have no idea. I couldn't imagine. Again, like I was telling you, I was like deep into the Pixar pals, like 94, what's happening with this,
Yeah.
and looking up all these numbers, trying to find any kind of connection between them. And only a couple of them I could find between them, but nothing that correlated all five of them other than obviously Pixar.
Yeah.
But
No, I
yeah.
love that. I love pattern recognition. That's how I find undervalued companies. That's how
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. People love that, and it's exciting too. Like when you found out that oh gosh, what was that drop called? The red dudes, the bear things,
Red
Creeping
Skull.
Darrow.
The Ghost Bears.
Yeah, not the Ghost Bears, the Creeping Darrow. I can't think of the artist at all, and he is
Creeping.
so active in the VV community.
Was it from DesignerCon? The Creepy Garrow.
Creeping Darrow was originally from DesignerCon.
Oh, wait, was it the giant, like they look like monsters from Antarctica, like the
I
bears
don't
that
know
look.
if they look at teddy bears that are like they've seen shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what
those
you're
guys.
talking about. They're
But
like
they've got
giant.
the chips. They've got the chips on the back of the
Yeah,
specimen. Thank you, Richard.
specimen. Yeah.
Specimen. They've got the chips on the back of the head, and the chip is Morse code for Vivi. And that's so cool, right? Like people are like, oh, there's a pin on Elsa's dress or something. But let's see. For the newbies, when OMI hits the big exchanges, there will be a big spike on sell off, but the big money will be made just holding. You'll never get a million OMI under a cent, just FYI.
Yeah. I think whether it's Coinbase or Binance, I do not know, but it'll be one of them will come first. Like we're gonna get both of them. I don't care when, I don't care how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I also think smaller exchanges will like Gate.io, although that's a bad example now, but Gate.io originally listed OMI. There was Okomi didn't reach out, like we're just gonna list you. And
Yeah.
that'll happen again.
It was really intimidating too when we were first looking at it, and we're like, okay, so OMI is a thing. You can only buy it on these 4 websites, and a couple of them are very sketchy feeling, right? Like
Yeah.
we're like doing it and we're like, I don't know, like let me take all these weird pictures of myself, and like it was something else. It was an experience. And seeing too, I can't wait for it to get like the fact that there was the pictures with David Yu with the Coinbase directors
Oh,
and the
that
talks.
was from Binance.
Yep.
CZ Zhang. Yeah.
And we just got it on Binance, right? Like last week, the 8th or something, or there was something that came out
Wait, got what on Binance?
for OMI on Binance.
Oh, Bitmark.
Or that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like I'm ready for it to pop onto more platforms because it's also hard to get friends and family in on it because they're like, all right, there's this elusive coin. You can only get on this one app for NFTs, but also there's a couple websites where you can get it. No, not there. Not there either. Nope, not there. And, and so it's just really interesting because even a couple of people that are like I have a couple friends that are like, "Oh yes, I invest in Ethereum." And I'm like, "Oh great, it's on the blockchain. It's on the Ethereum blockchain. This is great. There's some notoriety there." And they're like, "Never heard of it." And I'm like, how can you believe so strongly in the Ethereum blockchain, but then completely negate this coin that's already on the Ethereum blockchain?
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll happen. No doubt, that it will grow. I hope it doesn't take quite as long. Like
I mean,
there was
either way, we're still pretty young. Like
yeah.
I know you spent 8 years in the Navy, so you're probably at least 25. So what do you think? 27?
I'm 33 and
Oh wow, you look great.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And so yeah, we're still pretty young and early in this whole thing. And it's a rapid investment when it comes to digital coins as far as like compared to other investments.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, I'm ready for it now, ready for it just to explode.
I'm ready for it also.
Yeah, I just wanna sit on a little bitty, modest 30 or 40 acres in Kentucky and just have some ducks and grow some food and,
Oh, sounds great.
have a bunch of digital coin that is gonna take care of everything for us. And,
Yeah.
it's like, as a millennial, looking at potential growth for finances is intimidating a lot of times, right? Like, it feels like our infrastructure is not built for millennials and similar generations to be very good for finances as far as, like, when it comes to inflation rates, the cost of our education, the cost of living, the very low pays. Um, it's bleak at times, and
Yeah.
something like OMI and NFTs, if it's exciting and it's fun, and you can't help but romanticize the idea of it taking care of you, and taking care of your children, creating generational wealth, where it felt like there wasn't an outlet, and,
Yeah.
you don't have, many opportunities with, like, middle or low income, for example, to jump in on an opportunity that could make you thousands, or more. And how exciting it feels to land a drop or buy an item on the market and then watch it grow. Even like our Walt, that I mentioned that Corey and I got, at a little over 2K, watching that guy grow has been super exciting. And, we're like, MTL, MTL. And even though we're not gonna cash out Walt. We look at Walt as being a very long-term hold.
Yeah.
All of our NFTs, honestly, we look at long-term holds. Very few of them do we flip at all. And we're really looking for an investment standpoint, to take care of us later. And it's such a breath of fresh air, to feel like this is something that could take care of us, could take care of our kids.
Yeah.
And
Today, everything. Although I will tell people that there is, after I got out in 2016, I had a job I opened up another company underneath the business that I was working under, and I started making some real money that I would have never made in the military.
yeah,
And there is a learning curve to having some money. Like
yeah.
it makes you like suddenly your tastes get different, and you just yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yes.
Sometimes for the better though. Like you don't freak out like, oh no, my car needs to be repaired. Oh God, now it's like, oh man, now I got to wait
Yeah.
like a few hours for it to be fixed. Like it's
Yeah.
not as bad. So is your twin into this? Most importantly,
No, my twin is not. My twin, I'm actually a fraternal twin. Like, I'm 5'5", she's 6'1". So
damn.
you can definitely tell us apart. Um, and she's back in Kentucky with her family. She's an accountant. But I really look forward to, since we're going to be moving back to Kentucky where my family is. I also have two brothers there,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to get there and get my fingers into them and be like, all right, time to invest, and like, let me help you make your VV account,
Yeah.
and like get them excited onto it. Yep, mom in Georgetown, Kentucky, in horse country, absolutely.
Cool.
And yes, I really look forward to helping them get into it. They're not into it yet. It was kind of a hard sell to get mom into it over the phone, and
Yeah.
I've been really working the you need to get OMI, and she hasn't invested in OMI yet. But I think maybe when I get back and we see maybe some more growth or some changes,
Yeah.
it'll be easier. But it's intimidating, to try to ask someone to jump onto crypto when they've never been on crypto, have no experience with crypto or NFTs or anything of the likes. And unfortunately, there's so many horror stories of fraud associated with those things, and it's so easy. I've been taken once, in trying to get into it.
Yeah.
And I lost a bit, from a small incident, and lesson was learned. I know how to avoid that now, but in the beginning, it's easy to not know what you're doing and to just trust that someone is helping you. And
Yeah. They always
unfortunately,
use escrows.
yep. Yep. Well, not the escrow. So what it was is a guy was helping me set up my account,
Yeah.
not for VV, but a Coinbase account, or
Okay.
wait, no, crypto.com account. And got me all set up, and I was getting the official emails from the application, and then simultaneously he was sending his own emails, made to look like their emails with my wallet address, but it was actually his wallet address. So whenever
Mm,
I put that in, I send money to him instead of into my own account.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I understand how it happened now. But yeah, it was a very uncomfortable lesson. So I see it, and like even with talking with my mom, I'm like, yes, I want you to do it, but we'll do it together. I don't
Yeah.
want you to do it without me, just in case, you're in a place that, is not so great and stuff. But yeah, I really look forward to whenever I get back, grabbing my twin and my brothers and being like, you guys should do this with me. We can go on little trips as a family together. We can scope out 5G in Kentucky, and we'll make a morning of it. The kids will have fun because almost all of us have our own kids. And
I,
so
I think if you guys chip in and get Starlink, if you guys live close to each other, Starlink is something that should be, I think, faster than most of the other internets that's out there.
oh, really?
Yeah,
So
it just started rolling out recently.
it definitely, yeah, it's not something I'm familiar with yet. I know right now we're just like fiber optic, hoping for that kind of thing. Especially like here at our house in California, we have super poor connection. We're maxed out at 20 megabits per second.
Okay.
And it gets split between Corey and I, and it's just like it's really poor. It goes down to single digits when we're both trying here, which is why we travel to the 5G location, because of the 5G location, we're getting close to 1,000 sometimes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so market difference, and also market difference with the new phones. We did see dramatic difference in our 5G connectivity and our general speeds on our phones when we upgraded to the newer versions, which had a processor that was like 26 levels higher on the list. It's now the phones we have now is the second fastest processor in mobile phones.
What's it again? The phone that you have now?
The Samsung Galaxy 22 Ultra.
I think I have the 20S Plus or something. It's a few years old by now, but
yeah. Well, like my 3-year-old one, the S10.
Yeah.
Like there is a noticeable difference between it. They both have Snapdragon processors, but different versions of it. Yeah, the previous one was like number 28 or 29 on the list, and this one's now number 2. And
nice. Maybe I'll take a look.
Huge difference.
Once tax season's over, and I don't know. I honestly, I'd much rather like take the extra $1,000 or $1,200, whatever. I just get more OMI.
I'd
probably just do that.
I mean, that's what we keep doing too. We're like, hey, here's a break, OMI. And we have to make it an even million. So that way it's very easy to estimate. Like when we go to a penny, this is how much we're going to have. So like it's nice.
Penny would be 10,000.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm a crypto vet, and I'll say OMI will blow across $1 when it's easier for the general public to buy. Look at the Doge. No use case on hit 70 cents. Stack them OMI bags. Yeah. Again, I think what I was hinting at earlier, if you were in here with Veve, they don't do any kind of advertising, and I think once we get all those programs implemented into Veve with the MTL and the interoperability and really ease of platform use, we're really going to be seeing a massive growth in Veve. And then I think we're going to be seeing all those huge, huge licenses that are coming, like Pokemon and others. And then by proxy, we're going to see OMI just skyrocket, because people are going to be like, oh, this is the number one app. Like, and I think isn't Veve right now like the number one grossing app on
it's
the
always in the
stores right now?
top 10. Let me take a look though. Let's go to top charts, top grossing. Where are we at here? Where are we at? Entertainment, right? Yeah. Where is my entertainment? Oh, there it is. I'm in the wrong ones. We are currently number 7 for New York, or at least in the US.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
It's just like, and it feels so safe, right? Like I know we've talked about how there's a high risk for fraud when it comes to crypto in general, and the ease of accessibility that Veve has created is really making it such a safe thing to invest in my opinion. And again, we've talked about how investing in Veve by purchasing NFTs is in its own form investing in OMI because they're tied to them. And again, like they were saying, once OMI becomes even more accessible, like on Coinbase or other like really phone access purchasables, I really think we're going to see massive growth.
I think so too.
Make it to 10 cents, like,
I mean, that should happen for the next couple of years. I think between 2024 and 2026, that dollar thing should be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was reading about too. And it's just like, let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
do it.
get it. Let's get it. Can't wait.
Yes. Yes.
I can't wait. So as we've gone for about 2 hours, any final thoughts or anything that you want to say to everyone before we bounce?
Well, I've really enjoyed being on here with you. I loved getting to chat. For anyone who's just kind of popped in, I'm the VVT. My channel is still growing, but I'm really trying to bring a lot of new viewpoints from a woman's eye to NFT and crypto and try to focus on some of those things. And there's a lot of different things I'm doing on my channel. I'm looking forward to it growing. Right now, I have a little under 300 subs, so it's not a super huge thing, but hopefully, I'll be able to create some more content over these next few days. Corey and I, the VV3, excuse me, VVN3, and I do live streams pretty regularly on his channel. We're going to be live streaming tonight over his channel, likely around 2100, 2130 California time. And so I'd love to see you guys there tonight if you want to pop in. And that's pretty much all I've got, Randy.
I'll be streaming probably later tonight, probably around 10-ish, give or take.
Cool.
I gotta do a quick escrow deal, and then I gotta go to the gym, and then after that, hopefully I'll be back.
Awesome. I'll definitely pop into your live and watch it go, because that'll be right before I start to eat the kids in bed.
Yeah.
So nice. I'll pop in for a bit.
That'll be great. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, everyone. I'll see you all later. Everyone,
thank you. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.